Good morning and thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this Tuesday. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Welcome to the program. Now, in the course of the day, in the course of the morning, we shall be having a conversation with the CEO of NACADA. We'll be getting to understand the contribution drug and substance abuse has had on COVID-19 so far, and whether or not it's true there is any direct relationship between COVID-19 and alcohol amongst other substances. Also, we shall be reviewing the headlines and the papers with my colleagues right here in studio. But for now, karibu sana to the program and engage us using our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Across all social media platforms, we've got Ray Manyara, Jane Wamboi, and Sam W. Njoroge on Twitter. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Sam, for that nice intro. Yes, you're watching Good Morning Kenya, and this is Good Morning Kenya as it is. With me, Regina Manyara there. On my end of things, we're going to be looking at stories that are making headlines locally, regionally, and internationally. COVID results drop as a count of, linked to less tests and poor contact tracing, as well as embattled Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, now facing more graft allegations. That and so much more coming up in not too long.
Thank you once again for being a part of Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wamboi. Tuesday, it is the day, and today we're going to be having a look at women at the forefront. Of course, that will be one of our first interviews, and a bit later, still concerning on matters to do with health, and more specifically COVID-19, and looking at its relationship with other elements of our health. We're going to be having a conversation about physiotherapy, given today is World Physiotherapy Day. So we're going to be having representatives from the Physiotherapy Association of Kenya tell us what they are doing to just help us understand the relationship between the physiotherapy and especially when it comes to the treatment of COVID-19 and the recovery process, and how we can best employ some physiotherapeutic experiments and treatments rather from the comfort of our home. All that and so much more is coming up right here on Good Morning Kenya. Do stay with us.
And just a minute past 7 a.m., I want us to look at our first traffic link up this morning, and we will be focusing on Kisumu City again. I promise you that I'll be showing you the images of how that road reconstruction, this is just in the heart of Kisumu, how it has been coming along. But before we get to do that, let me just look at how traffic is doing this morning in Nairobi. That is around University roundabout. We'll be getting to Kisumu in the next link up, but this morning around the roundabout is not looking good at all, and that's why I wanted us to look at this roundabout this early morning. This is just actually after you leave Wayaki Way, coming all the way through the roundabout as you head over to the other roundabouts and join on this highway, just branching off to other minor roads and slip roads around this route. And this morning, not looking good at all. You can just see from the cocktail of colors around the roundabout, you're seeing the red, the orange, the maroon. This early hour, you can imagine this is how this roundabout is looking like. And all the way from Wayaki Way, before you just get through the roundabout, maroon all through. And this is specifically that lane that is leaving Wayaki Way all through the other side of Uhuru Highway as you head over to Kenyatta Avenue, Haile Selassie, all the way to Mombasa Road. On that specific lane, that's just where the gridlock is being witnessed this early morning, and it's coming all the way again from Wayaki Way all through as you just come through the roundabout. On the other side of University Way, so this is actually as you branch off to State House Road, and also on the other side near Rera Road this morning, looking so good. But clearly this is one of those roads that is just normally used by the private vehicles and a few motorcycles here and there. So it's not a road that caters for public service vehicles, and this could be the reason as to why there's barely any gridlock, and that's why it's green all through. So this is just one of those roads that caters for that, and clearly this morning looks very good. So what this means is that if you're coming from Wayaki Way, and you're going probably, just before you get to the city center, if you're going all the way to the areas such as Valley Road or even Ngong Road there alike, and you do not want to use Uhuru Highway all through, then when you just get to the roundabout, you can branch off to State House Road or even near Rera Road. That is actually if you're using a private vehicle or if you're on a motorcycle. That is one of the routes that you can use as an alternative route if at all you're going all the way to Ngong Road or even Valley Road, because all the way past the roundabout, using Uhuru Highway, heading all the way to the other side, of Kenyatta Avenue roundabout before you branch off to Valley Road. On that specific route, then is just gridlock all through. And it's pretty interesting because at this time of the hour, we don't expect the road to be looking the way it's looking like. So you can imagine in the next hours, it'll be a totally different story altogether. So clearly, that's why I'm saying if you are coming to the city center and you're told want to go to those areas, then that route can be a very good alternative route, because as of now, there's no traffic at all in any of those lanes. Just where there's traffic is actually through the roundabout, and looks like nothing is changing. In fact, it has changed a bit, but even it's changing, to much heavy traffic buildup, because clearly as of now, just past the roundabout, heading to the other side of University Way, as you're heading to the city center, it is red. You're just seeing from our map, indicating that it's moving at a really, really slow pace. This is actually the lane that is heading all the way to the city center. So again, also what this means is that if you're coming from Waiyaki Way, heading to the city center through the roundabout, then again, you may just have to do the traffic around the roundabout as you head over to the CBD. But on that lane that is heading all the way to the city center is looking green, so indicating that there's no traffic at all. Actually, where there's traffic is on the lane that is leaving the city center through the roundabout, heading all the way to Waiyaki Way, as well as through the roundabout, heading all the way to the other side of Uhuru Highway as you head over to the roundabouts there, and even just coming to areas such as Nyayo Stadium. So actually, that's just where there's traffic. But again, in as much as there's traffic there, it's a manageable kind of traffic, and that's why there's the orange color there. But look, before I explore other areas, look at this again. It has changed. This actually, as you leave Waiyaki Way, where we were spotting the maroon, indicating that it's just not moving at all, at a standstill. Now it has changed, so at least it's moving, but at a pretty slow pace, and that again is specifically on that lane that is leaving Waiyaki Way as you head over to the roundabout again. On the other one, traffic building up, but again, a manageable kind of traffic. So that's how this roundabout is looking like this morning. Again, on the other side of the road, that is Nyerere Road as well as State House Road, nothing happening, no traffic at all, smooth sailing for you if you're using that specific route. On the other side, past the roundabout through Uhuru Highway, again, just traffic beginning to slightly build up before you get to the other roundabout. But normally, again, I just can tell our viewers that at least around this roundabout, traffic police, as early as now, I can just confirm for you that at least they are normally always here trying to see how best they can control traffic. So in as much as, yes, it's a bit of a building up, could be not that bad for you because they're normally there trying to see how best they can do that. But just as I promised, in the next link up, I'll be showing you the images of Kisumu City and that road reconstruction process, because that will be our focus this Tuesday morning. But as of now, this is how University Roundabout in Nairobi is looking like in terms of traffic.
That's how traffic is looking some few minutes past 7 a.m. We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening on our major roads. Remember, whenever we have light showers or even heavy showers within the CBD, that has 85% of, the work places, or rather what we say workstations, we find that most roads are either experiencing a gridlock. So if you've not left the comfort of your home, remember you need to have tuned in to KBC Channel 1 for that particular update. And on top of that also, getting to catch up with what has been happening locally, regionally, and internationally. We begin the headlines right about now with a sneak peek of what we have on our front page of our various daily newspaper issues today, being the 8th of September 2020. That's how the Standard looks like this morning. I will not fight Uhuru in public, says DP Ruto. So who is fooling who? Deputy President William Ruto goes on a charm offensive in Uhuru's Mount Kenya stronghold, saying the friendship with his boss is still intact and he hopes to ride on president's support to win the 2022 presidential race. Still keeping up with matters of graft, and what we have seen from the latest reports is that now graft is a family affair. Now, how governor shared county cash with family. That is none other than Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njoki, who the anti-corruption agency is, given details in regard to how he awarded a tender to a company that disbursed millions to his wife, son, nephew, and brother-in-law in a shocking ledger of nepotism and greed. Main story on the Standard this morning: who is killing not? Pictured there is TSC boss Nancy Macharia, as well as NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion. The beginning of the end, is it? Well, now the Giant Teachers Union loses over 130,000 members as well as 1 billion shillings in 15 months, paralyzing its operations countrywide after dilapidating court and street battles with TAC. Details will be coming up not too long.
Let's now have a look at the Daily Nation, and looking at the front page this morning, the big read right there, 8 governors on a graft hit list. Now, 8 more governors have been brought into the spotlight, and this is under the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission as they closes in when it comes to the investigations, looking at how the COVID funds were used. And picture there we have Kirinyaga Governor, Garissa Governor, Kitui, Kilifi, Muranga, Bungoma, Marsabit, and Elgeyo Marakwet. They are the 8 who have been added into this list of top county heads who are being investigated as to how they use the COVID-19 funds and other supplies, water projects, relief food, and other items. We will be giving you the details of that in a bit. And still on the front page of the Daily Nation, there at the bottom, pictured therein is Deputy President William Ruto, and the caption reads, Ruto battles to win Mount Kenya banking come 2022, because it is being termed as a vital vote when it comes to his presidential bid for 2022. We will be giving you details of that in not too long. And I know you can't see this, but on the top right of the front page of the Daily Nation, there's one interesting piece about a chief who has been going around encouraging people through dance. He dances to every dances for the people at every occasion that he possibly can when he's addressing the people in his area. We'll be giving you a bit more information as to why he does that in not too long, so do stay with us, as well as some laxed ways of burying our deceased. They're about to be brought into place in regards to how corona burials were being done, which is now said that it will be coming to an end in not too long. So details of that coming up in a bit.
Let's move on to the Star this morning, and the headline reads, Raila ready to roll out aggressive 2022 campaign. Now, the ODM leader has hit the ground and prepares for the presidential race. And this is also a follow-up to what the dailies were reporting yesterday, that there will be about 9 million votes that will be added into the basket, 5 million new voters, and around 4 million who did not get a chance to vote in 2017 as much as they were eligible to do that. And when the analysis is done, these 9 million votes appear to favor Raila Amolo Odinga because they are largely from his strongholds of Kakamega and the coast, as well as Nyanza, and he's now trying to rejuvenate those particular strongholds. Other stories that have been highlighted on the front page of the Star this Tuesday: missing cash assets recovery says 300 million Kenya shillings has been wired out of 4 ministries. That story is on page 6 of the Star today. Also moving to the story that created quite a buzz on social media yesterday. It was also part of the news at 9 p.m. and that is Vocal MP Ngeno arrested for incitement and slur. You'll find that story there covered on page 2 of the Star. Also, there's no scientific evidence as far as COVID-19 deaths are concerned, and the fact that they will not exceed 1,000 mark by December right here in the country. Michelle Waikenda has an opinion written by the Star today. Dissolve the Senate. It's an utter failure. This is also courtesy of the stalemate that has persisted for quite a long time when it comes to division of revenue, or a formula to distribute funds to the counties. That's the front page of the Star for you today.
Now, in the headlines, we start off with that big read on the Standard this morning. Who is killing Nat? Now, the beginning of the end is that the Giant Teachers Union loses over 130,000 members as well as 1 billion shillings in 15 months, paralyzing its operations after a court and street battles with TSC. Details is that They revealed that the Kenya National Union of Teachers has also lost a huge chunk of its revenue, which has paralyzed operations and driven the once untouchable organization to its knees. Now, between June last year and last month, the union lost 853 million in monthly dues after its membership shrunk from 187,441 to 51,215 teachers. Why is this? Now, some of people who've been captured by this particular scribe in this story, it is that the issue of the TSC, the claims are that the TSC had set up a desk at the head office where NAT members were manually exited from the union's register without their consent. Now, MPs have also implored the TSC and NAT to initiate talks and to also withdraw cases pending in court. We will be looking at, what direction NAT takes in that regard. Remember, schools are still closed, and there's some conversation that we might have the schools reopening before January if the current trajectory continues with the COVID-19 infection rate that is around now at 2%. However, this comes at a time when we're speaking matters of COVID-19 is that experts have said that there's no correlation with the current numbers to just Kenya having the situation under control. Actually, Gidenju Gitahi, the AMREF Group CEO, says that the COVID drop is linked to less tests and poor contact tracing. It doesn't mean that we are over and done it as far as the ripple effect of the pandemic. Now, TSC and NAT face off, and now NAT is facing near collapse, having lost over 50% of its membership and 1 billion shillings in 15 months. Who is killing NAT, and can it survive?
The big question on the Standard this morning, but now let's move on to the Daily Nation and the main story there on the front page about 8 governors who are now on the graft list, and these are Kirinyaga Governor, that is Anne Waiguru, Garissa Governor Ali Korane. We also have Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi, Murang'a Governor Mwangi Wairia, Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati, Marsabit Governor Mahmoud Ali, and Elgeyo Marakwet Alex Tolgis. These are the 8 governors that have been included on this graft list by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, looking at how they used funds that were supposed to go to COVID-19 supplies, water projects, relief food and other items, and it is a total sum of about 233 million Kenya shillings that is being questioned. And according to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, it seems that Ms. Waiguru is the one who is in more trouble than was initially thought, because yesterday it emerged that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission widened its scrutiny in her county to include how the 77 million Mwea Makima water project was procured, because they did find out that that tender that was supposed to supply water to some 30,000 residents was awarded to a company that was associated with a family member from her family, and this project, as it was launched last year. And according to Ms. Waiguru's administration, it's now being investigated for paying officials irregular travel allowances totaling to 23 million Kenya shillings. Now, still looking at this particular story, on the flip side, we have Governor Mike Sonko, who was saying that cabinet secretaries are not above the law. They are those who have also stolen billions, and they also need to be investigated. He did say that we don't want governors to be the only ones who are being arrested, and they are being targeted unfairly. Those were the words of Governor Mike Sonko in regards to this whole issue of the EACC going all out to bring to book all these county officials who have misappropriated these funds.
As far as the formula that will be used to share money amongst the 47 counties is concerned, well, there is smoke, but it's clearly not white. Why? Because senators are now trying to fast-track bill on revenue formula, and the debate on cash-sharing method resumes after a month-long recess following 9 previous sessions. sessions. Now, will this 10th one unlock the stalemate? Remember, this sitting will be happening at a time when already the Council of Governors have pronounced themselves on this very matter, saying that if money is not with the counties within the next 2 weeks, then they will have no option but to shut the counties down. First of all, legally, is that even possible? Those are some of the issues we shall probe when we start covering this story, and following up on the proceedings that will be at the Senate. We saw the Speaker, Kenneth Lusaka, talk about even extending an arm to the executive and see what kind of help that they're going to give in this particular matter. But counties across board continue to suffer courtesy of this stalemate. We saw even yesterday the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union talking about the fact that some of the counties have not paid health workers for 3 months now. So this formula is all too critical, needed right now, so that the country is in a position to operate without a hitch. Now that is covered on page 8 of the Star today.
Now, from matters of county revenue to matters succession politics. Ruto, I will seek Uhuru backing when the right time comes. Quoted there is Deputy President William Ruto on today's issue of the Standard, and it says, there are people who would wish I start verbally engaging the president in public, and I want to tell them that will not happen. I am a responsible leader who has tremendous respect for the president. We have come from so far. Now, Deputy President William Ruto says that he will be seeking Uhuru's, support in his 2022 presidential bid. Just alluded to there by my colleague Sam Njoroge there to what happened yesterday when that particular politician who goes by the name Nyano was arrested for incitement. Now, Ruto here says that the 2010 constitution had not been fully implemented, noting that even Parliament that is set to sit today is in danger for dissolution because it had gone against its recommendations on the third gender rule. Now, Ruto also wondered what was so serious about implementing the constitution. Quoted, there is a problem, it's not the constitution. The problem is the people who do not want to follow the law. They want shortcuts. The constitution is not a personal tool. It is for all Kenyans. This comes at a time when the debate has been rife on how the constitution is and should be regarded as a live document that can be changed as we go, borrowing heavily from President Uhuru Kenyatta's comments there when he made the address to the nation, saying that time was right to make amendments to the constitution for prosperity of the country at large. And is that the deputy president also said, in regard to matters finance, that the International Monetary Fund and World Bank has expressed confidence that Kenya has the ability to pay its debt in full. We are still struggling to come to terms with COVID-19 disruptions that have led, we've seen inflation rise for the last few months, actually 6 months consecutively. Yet the Exchequer as well as CBK, they maintain that Kenya is not in the red in as far as its debt situation is concerned. I don't know what you take in. Remember, we're live and we expect your feedback in regard to these stories and so much more. Take home is that Ruto says, I am not going to engage the president in public as much as other people would want me to do so.
Now, keeping up with what is happening on the DP's side of the divide, here on the Daily Nation is in regards to his 2022 presidential bid, where Ruto dangles a running mate carrot in Mount Kenya with an eye on its vote. Now, the deputy president is said to be considering to pick his running mate from Mount Kenya, signaling that the region's vote is very crucial in his presidential bid come 2022. And of course, with the president retiring, DP Ruto is now campaigning to inherit the vote-rich region, but on the flip side is that he's up against a wing of the Jubilee Party that is allied to the president, with whom he has fallen out in the recent past, as we have been seeing in the political arena. But according to the DP, and this is what he said during a service that he was attending on Sunday, he was quoted saying, "What I know is that Mount Kenya is a region that is ready to vote for another Kenyan. If they have not had a reason in the past, they now have a reason because they know me well." He further went on to say that those who are trying to lecture me on respecting the president have not supported Uhuru like I have, and I have voted for Uhuru 4 times. Many did not believe I could stand with President Uhuru, but I have been with him through thick and thin, end of quote. Now, he was speaking this as he was telling of those who are saying that he needs to respond and speak publicly about his thoughts in regards to engaging the president, as has been highlighted on the Daily Nation there. But he further on went to say that Mount Kenya people are very wise and are well aware of where they want Kenya to be come 2022, and that is why he is hoping to bag their support for the presidential bid for 2022.
Moving on to the Star today, page 9, the state is to call 20 witnesses in Sonko's 10 million Kenya shillings bribery case. And the governor allegedly demanded the cash as an inducement to facilitate payments to Web Tribe Limited, ROG Security, and its director, Anthony Ombok, who is also now to be charged. And also reading this particular article, you will find that the Director of Public Prosecutions has lined up around 20 witnesses to testify against Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, and the DPP amended the charge sheet and introduced a new count of abuse of office in the matter in which Sonko is accused of demanding 10 million Kenya shillings bribe from Web Tribe Limited through ROG Security Limited. Now, this particular case will see a fresh pleading on Monday, or fresh pleading happen on Monday, since on his part, the Anti-Corruption Court magistrate, that is Douglas Ogoti, said that the prosecution has now been directed to supply a schedule of chronology in which they will call the 20 witnesses. That is page 9 of the Star for you this Tuesday.
Now, crossing over back to the Standard, page 10, state begins a merger of ports, railway and pipeline services. That means the Kenya Ports Authority, Kenya Pipeline and Kenya Railways will be run under the ICDC. Now, the transport and logistics sector is set for a major transformation with that particular merger. And according to Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kuria Teni, today, who will today preside over the signing of the Networks Framework Agreement in Mombasa, says that this is going to herald a new dawn in as far as transport logistics are concerned. Now, going forward, the state agencies are also to be required to enter into a joint operations agreement within 30 days that will reorganize individuals, entities, structures, resources, operations, and services. Now, according to State House spokesperson Kanze Denner, says that the reorganization will help establish a seamless and coordinated national transport logistic network. The ICDC board will be responsible for securing achievement of the commercial vision and objectives of the KTLN through a board of directors. We'll be looking, or rather keeping tabs on that. Remember, this will be coming live to you on KBC Channel 1. Now, talking about mergers, is that China is set to establish a military base in Kenya. Yes, you had that right. Now, China is considering setting up a military base in 4 African countries, Kenya included. Now, according to a report by the U.S. Department of Defense, Kenya, Angola, Tanzania, and Seychelles were mentioned among a dozen other countries where the merging superpower wants to set up base. The document that was published last week was widely reported throughout the weekend, with some countries where the bases are to be set up denying being in such discussions with China. Now, we're also going to be interrogating that, if that is another investment we're likely to see within the Kenyan soil.
Investments, eh?
I had to say investments.
All right, let's move.
Okay.
Alama za dukuduku. All right, let us continue with the Daily Nation and still looking at the political arena. Now, this particular story involves former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, where he is said to have a new strategy in the push for BBI, as you know, he rolls out some ODM, some of his ODM members to go from town to town, meeting with representatives and leaders in those particular towns. But Odinga is now crafting, which is called a new strategy that will see him roll out town hall meetings across the country as he seeks to solidify his support base and push for grassroots, especially campaigning for the BBI. Now, this new strategy is being termed as a game plan that is aimed specifically or partly aimed to checkmate Deputy President William Ruto, who has been making thrusts into ODM's perceived strongholds, and to counter the DP's anti-BBI crusade. And this new approach is being dubbed as Kikau by Mr. Odinga, where he'll be going from counties to county, which have traditionally supported him, to listen to his supporters and other local leaders as they give reports back to him on the progress they have made when it comes to development and service delivery in those counties. And of course, this new strategy also stems back to the March 9th handshake with President Kenyatta, who is also said to be planning to neutralize the DP anti-BBI charges in regions where the head of state enjoys wide support. That is what is happening in terms of the BBI conversation so far.
Well, guys, are we happy? Jane, I'll start with you. Are you happy this morning?
Do I have a reason not to be happy?
Good. Oh, God. She just answers a question with another. Okay. Ray, are you happy?
Happiness is a state of being. Why not?
Oh, there you go. We're happy and we love the Lord. So, yes. Okay. Thank you so much. It's just that there's a viewer watching and talked about our happiness. But we are happy and we are fine. And thank you so much for the concern. However, we are taking a break and we'll be back with more in just a moment.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
All kind of things about you.
With them on, just shake up. Need to mush you and done to mush you. When your booty gon' show me now.
Baby, one time, bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180, crazy.
Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some Bobby.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
next on.
Together we stand, sister.
I just wanna give you the commotion. I just wanna give you the commotion.
If you try and fail, it's just another chance to prevail. Cause failure is a way to prevail. I can't breathe and I don't want to. I'm gonna change the world, that's all I wanna do.
And about 35 minutes past 7 a.m., time for our next link. And as I had promised, I'll be showing you those images of the reconstruction process that just went along in the last year. This is in Kisumu City. So this is how the new Kisumu City looks like. This project actually took about, was it 600 billion? I want to believe so, 600 billion just to reconstruct this road. And I can tell you it's really well reconstructed. There's overpasses, there's NMT also in Kisumu City, that is the non-motorized transport system. So I just mentioned to you that the Kenyan Urban Roads Authority said that any road that has been earmarked for a reconstruction process, either it's a new road being reconstructed or the old ones are being reconstructed, or even just inside the estates, whether in Nairobi or even beyond, they'll ensure that the non-motorized transport system is put in place so at least pedestrians as well as cyclists can have a clear path. You can't see any of that here, but I can assure you that the underpass actually on this road, and I'll be showing you those images probably in the next link up, there's that put in place. And what they said about this reconstruction process, that at least to make it easy for traders, people in the market, just try to navigate through. This road goes all the way to the western side of the country, that is in Vihiga County. So clearly one of those instrumental roads also leads you all the way to Kisumu International Airport. So this is how this process, just came along. Also what they ensured they put in place was that the street lights were also put in place. And you can just see from at the farthest end on this image, there's at least, a pole erected there. So they ensure that at least this is also put in place. So this is just a project by the Kenyan Urban Roads Authority. We haven't seen a lot of this in Mombasa City, but at least in Kisumu and Nairobi, it's coming along well. And what they said is that as they will be expanding, this project to at least ensure that both owners of public and private vehicles have a smooth movement, as well as just both pedestrians and cyclists. So this is how it is actually looking like. Not looking so bad, and this is just at the heart of Kisumu City. So let's look at traffic, try and see if this at all has impacted positively, traffic in this city, which is in Kisumu City. Like I mentioned, this project was just done in a span of 1 year, 2018 through 2019, and that's how it is looking like. So I want us to begin from this is around the National Oil petrol station roundabout, which is actually one of those roads that leads you all the way to Nairobi, goes all the way to Kisumu on the other side, as well as also going all the way to the other side of Vihiga County. And I just showed you those images there because it is a road that leads you all the way to the other side of western part of the country, the nearest county being Vihiga, as well as also the other side of Nairobi City. So this is actually that roundabout which leads you to those areas that I'm just mentioning. One of those busy roundabouts because of the kind of just structures around this area. Actually, around this roundabout is one of those areas where it is a drop-off as well as a pickup for most vehicles that head over to Nairobi City. So clearly, again, one of those busy areas. And just just to mention that yes, the country was at least opened up, so means that people can move in different to different parts. So clearly, that could be the reason as to why we are seeing what we are seeing this morning in terms of the gridlock there, because unlike Nairobi, where I would expect to see heavy traffic build-up, especially around roundabouts, you don't expect to see the same in these cities, and we just witnessed that yesterday when you're looking at Kisumu City. But clearly, as I had mentioned, that this is one of those busy roundabouts because of the kind of activities around this roundabout, and also not forgetting the fact that it is a roundabout. So clearly, it connects to a number of roads, and it is no different from this one. Comes all the way from Oyo Busia Road on the other side, which goes to all the way to Busia County. There's a Chengoneko Road on the other side, as well as coming all the way to the city of Nairobi. So clearly one of those busy roundabouts. And just this morning, at this hour, traffic build up all through, but at least not looking that bad, because if you can remember earlier on when we were looking at University roundabout, it was really quite unbearable because it was just all red and maroon all through, indicating that traffic was really building up there, and in some parts just moving at a pretty slow pace. But clearly as of now, it is not that bad in Kisumu City around this roundabout. So that means if you're going all the way to this other side, which is Jomo Kenyatta on the other side, Kisumu Busia on the other side, or even coming to Nairobi this morning, doesn't really look that bad for you. So this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic in Kisumu City. But remember, just as how we normally do in Nairobi, where we look at some good alternative routes, we shall also be doing the same probably in the next link, because clearly as of now, traffic beginning to build up. So probably in the next hour, it will be probably unbearable. So we'll be doing that in the next link up segment. Try to look for some good alternative routes, especially for those that are coming to Nairobi, this early morning hour. But as of now, this is how it's looking like in Kisumu City in terms of traffic.
That is a traffic update from the Lakeside City. Thank you very much, Traffic Marshal A1 Doreen Arange. Now, still keeping up with stories that are making headlines. Now, KFCB and Google to partner to protect children. Now, the Kenya Film and Classification Board has partnered with Google and Code IP Trust to launch the digital parenting program to sensitize parents and guardians on how to protect children against inappropriate content. Now, according to KFB Chief Executive Officer Ezekiel Mutua, he explained that the program will ensure learners access a safe Google features that protect and block them from harmful content. Remember, right now when children are at home, the conversation has been, how do you ensure that your child is safe? What are they viewing? What are they reading? Are you sure what they are accessing in terms of online content? Well, now this is a partnership that is meant to protect children. Further on is that the KFC boss has said that matatus fitted with screens are considered film exhibitors and will be required to obtain a license fee of 2,000 annually, 2,000 shillings annually. Now, he added, that is the KFCB boss, he added that the moral fabric of the country is broken and we must act now to save our future generation. When you look at the kind of content some media houses air, you wonder whether those who are in charge have children. Quoted there is KFCB boss Ezekiel Mutua. He further goes on, I'm appealing to Kenyans to speak up against those who continue to air immoral content in the name of entertainment. KFCB is seeking to draft a new and more punitive bill on offending media houses. That particular partnership to shield children from, bad content online. Inappropriate content.
All right, let's now move on to this interesting story here on the Daily Nation about a chief who is changing lives through song and dance. Now, this is one chief by the name Thuo Mwangi, aged 41, who is the Kanjueri assistant chief, who uses music and poetry as well as a dance to address his people during public barazas. And this has drawn so many of the residents, especially the young people, who are said to always arrive ahead of time, and which has also made public barazas a popular thing in this particular region. Now, he says he chose to use this poem, music, and other forms of art to address the people there, and especially looking at ills that ail the society in his area. And he found this to be a more effective way of going about, dealing with these things, as opposed to the traditional way of backing orders and using fear to just instill using fear and sternness when you are exercising your authority, especially in his command as the chief in this particular area. And he was actually quoted saying, "I compose gospel, patriotic and other thematic songs which target specific groups in the community, and through music I can instill the power of positive thinking which influences behavior change, and especially among the young people here in my region." Now, he is said to have quit his teaching job so that he could start a career in administration, and so far he absolutely enjoys what he does, and his locals always look forward to the next baraza, which now has become such a popular thing at the Kanjuere market, and it has ultimately changed his life as he goes about changing the lives of other people. I don't know what you guys think about this particular story, because for most people, when you hear Chief Amekusamon, especially in the local down at the barazas, most people are always skeptical and feel authority. But now here is a guy who, a whole chief goes to dance to the people where he's talking about, let's say you are caught doing something, and he dances to you as he lays down your charges.
Wow. I honestly thought that would be going to Ray, but... But you know what? We've had also another case in, was it Mombasa or Western Kenya, where the chief was whipping, recommended whipping for any man caught or any woman caught cheating on their spouse, embracing different ways of doing things. I mean, it's the 21st century, and as we love saying, it is what it is. So let's move on now to page 11 of the Star. Now, doctors issue a 2 weeks strike notice. And some counties are yet to pay salaries for 3 months. And now the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union have been in talks for the past 2 weeks, but threatened that should there be no amicable agreement in a fortnight, they will be left with no choice but to avoid work. Now, some of the issues that are being raised by this union go way beyond pay. They talk about welfare, discrimination, as some of the key issues they've been dealing with, even in the wake of them being frontline workers when it comes to combating the spread of COVID-19 in the country. And thus that story finds its way to page 11 of the Star this Tuesday.
Now, sticking to matters, making headlines across the board. And I'd want to draw to your attention to a story, what is happening in Rwanda. Now, President Paul Kagame has denied reported allegations that Paul Rusesabagina, portrayed as a humanitarian in the controversial Oscar-nominated film Hotel Rwanda, was kidnapped to Rwanda. Quoted there is Paul Kagame saying that there was no kidnapping and wrongdoing in the process of getting him here. It was actually flawless. Rusesabagina will testify to that. Now, Kagame told the national broadcaster in Rwanda television in a live interview, referring to the allegations made by Paul's family. If you are familiar with that particular film, sometimes in April, Hotel Rwanda, you know that particular country, which happens to be in the larger East African region, went through some transformation where so many people were lost. And that particular film, up to date, brings tears to my eyes. I don't know about Jane or Sam's reaction to that, but that is what is happening in Rwanda, as well as an excerpt here of Orphans of Angola's Secret Massacre Seeking the Truth. These are some of the stories making headlines, or rather captured in the Standard this morning, of what is happening across the African continent. You can grab your copy this morning and just get up to date with that particular featured story.
Still keeping up with some international news, let's go to South Sudan. And this particular story, we actually had it about last week in regards to the peace deal that is currently ongoing in South Sudan between the government and the rebels. And it is said that they are now in the final stage of this peace deal with the rebels, which is set to culminate on the 2nd of October, where they will be having the final signing. And this is according to the chief mediator of this particular deal. He did say that the 2nd of October is the date of the final signing of the peace agreement between the government and, quote-unquote, parties to the peace process. This is Tutgal Gatluak, who is the head of mediation, the head of the mediation team in South Sudan's presidential advisor when it comes to security affairs. And he made this announcement on Twitter. He further went to say that, the Sudanese Authority and leaders from the South Sudan Revolutionary Front, that is SRF, a coalition of rebel groups, had initially, this is now going to be termed as a historic peace agreement, which started off on the 31st of August in Juba, which is aimed at ending the nearly 2 decades of conflict that has killed hundreds of thousands of people, and particularly in Western Darfur.
Other stories that are making headlines right here in the continent. The World Bank has now picked new director for Somalia and the East Africa region. And the man is Keith Hansen, who is now the new country director for Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia and Uganda, effective the 8th of September 2020. He has over 30 years of experience in development practice and will lead an active multi-country portfolio consisting of over 100 projects, totaling to more than 13 billion US dollars, estimated to be around 1.4 trillion Kenya shillings.
Now, I want to cross over to sports and also highlight a story here, especially for tennis lovers. Now, whatever happened at Japan's, the U.S. Open quarterfinals there, with our favorite there, Djokovic, being disqualified from the U.S. Open for hitting a judge. Now, this happened after, this was Sunday night. The world number one has apologized for hitting the ball in disgust after losing his serve to go down 6-5 down in the first set to Spain's 20th seed, that is Pablo Carreno Busta, inside the Arthur Shea Stadium. Now, he says, please forgive him. Please forgive me. Pictured there, and I'd want us to just lean in on that particular picture. You can see his face looking quite remorseful for what he did, and he has not made any comment in regard to his disqualification in the U.S. Open. He has not said if he's okay with that particular disqualification, because remember, he just got from the Japan's Osaka to the U.S. Open's quarterfinals, and after he was dismissed from the tennis court, he just drove away, and since then he hasn't uttered a word. He has just said he made a public apology, saying, I am extremely sorry to have caused her such stress, or so intended and so unintended and so wrong. This refers to, the umpire who then declared that Carreno Busta had won by default. This is what happened is that Djokovic, who appeared to be looking the other way when he pulled the ball from his pocket and smacked it in the direction of the official, and it hit her in her full toss in the throat. The official cried out and began gasping for air as she collapsed on the ground. Djokovic rushed over to check on her, placing his hand on her back as she struggled to breathe. Consequently, he was disqualified and had to leave the U.S. Open for hitting the judge. Now, the facts around Djokovic is that the last 3 Grand Slam men's title have been won by 3 players. That is Djokovic 5, Rafael Nadal 5, and Roger Federer 3. Nadal, in the 2019 champion in New York, chose not to play in the U.S. Open, while Federer is recovering from 2 operations on his right knee. What then for Djokovic? We'll be keeping tabs on that as far as international sporting scene, or rather arena, is concerned.
My only question, Djokovic. Why?
It was so unintentional.
But still,
it was very unintentional. I think he got distracted having lost that set, and he wasn't looking when he was tossing. He just pulled the ball and just served. So you're watching. So he did, and he just hit the umpire, who happened to be a woman. So
Djokovic,
it wasn't intentional.
Samuel, you look like you have something to say.
I'm just wondering the level through which Regina is just defending. It's fine. We'll settle this off
air?
off camera.
Yeah. All right, let's now move on to still looking at some sports news here in Kenya. And this is in regards to sports infrastructure. So there was a stadium that was earmarked for construction that was supposed to be constructed in Migori 6 years ago with a budget of 120 million. Today, it is being termed as just a fenced bare ground. Little has been done to erect this particular stadium right there. And the 120 million that was set aside for this particular stadium is yet to show the fruits of this labor 6 years later. And it is now being said as the only big sports project in the South Nyanza region that is lagging behind in terms of construction, as the other three, that is Gusii Stadium in Kisii, Homa Bay Stadium in Homa Bay, and Manga Stadium in Nyamira have realized major developments. Now, Gusii Stadium is now nearing completion with 12 spectator stands, a main pavilion, and a playing surface with modern irrigation system. With a modern irrigation system in place, it has already been put in place. Now, the Migori County government, which was supposed to undertake this development, was formerly owned by this project was formerly owned by the defunct municipal council, which is supposed to get started on this project. But according to a county official who did not want to be named, he said that he is not authorized to speak to the press about the local government and why it would not construct the proposed modern stadium, and more so pointing to the fact that there was a lack of funds, given that there was 120 million that was set aside for this particular project. Now, this project is supposed to accommodate at least 2,000 people because it is estimated to sit on 4 acres of land that is to comfortably accommodate these 2,000 people, and was supposed to get started 6 years ago, but now here we are in 2020, and it's just a fenced bare ground with no single structure erected there since then.
The reason why I have that expression on my face is because there's this very interesting tweet that has come through for us. Guess what it is, guys? Have you seen? It is, okay, I've been tagged, you've been tagged, Ray, and also Jane. This is on Twitter. And this particular, it's some public notice board, something that is asking us, have you seen the latest list of our lost and found items? If you find any of your items, please write your mobile number on the last column and we shall contact you.
Found. You remember?
Honestly, yeah, like lost and found. Someone has just tagged something about lost and found items na katuambia tukiona yetu hapo.
Tutaangalia ni nini imepotea. But it reminds me of that particular box that used to be kept at some corner in the deputy principal's office.
Yes, lost and found.
Lost and found the sweaters, the blazers, and such. Well, indeed, we will be checking out if indeed we find our lost items on that particular list and get in touch with that particular person who decided to tag us as Good Morning Kenya, the team. Seems that you're one of those people who's watching.
Sorry, Ray? You're saying?
We will check out the list. I don't know what is
the
list.
mimi siko, mi sijapoteza kitu.
Uko sure?
Mi niko tu sawa. Fine, thank you.
Even the one who got away. Anyway, now still keeping up with matters of sports is that the Tokyo Games will go ahead as planned. Now, Tokyo postponed the Olympics, and they have confirmed. The IOC Vice President John Coates yesterday said, actually they vowed that the games will take place in July, or starting July 23rd next year. They will be known as the games that conquered COVID. Quoted, the games were going to be their theme, the reconstruction games after the devastation of the tsunami. Now, but Japan's borders are still largely closed to foreign visitors, and the vaccine is months, months or even years away, feeding the speculation about whether the games are feasible at all. IOC maintains that the games that were postponed that were to take place in 2020 are going to commence on July 23rd next year.
Well, I think with that we've come to the end of this particular segment. I don't know, Sam, you always have an interesting story to end this segment with. Leo kuna topic yote ya relationships.
No, that would be you, Jane, on Mondays. Today, it's all about COVID-19 and drug and substance abuse. I'll be having the CEO, NACADA, Victor Okioma, who'll be looking into some of these issues, the patterns of drugs and substance abuse in the country, how this has contributed to the fight against COVID-19, and moving forward, what are some of the emerging trends and patterns when it comes to consumption of alcohol and drugs in this country? All that and much more will be our conversation that we begin in a matter of minutes at around 8 a.m. I can see it's a minute too. So let's take that break and we'll be coming up with that in just a short while.
On KBC Channel 1.
I am sure Sushim is going to win the stage.
Of course. But in this stage, I wish to see how Ashok, the son of Dharma, who is against violence, confronts a situation of war.
You have proposed Ashok's name. The boy's thought process is way ahead of his age and these times.
The sun does not need to be taught how to shine in the sky.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Yani kama ajali about past yake, she's a whole new person.
Past yake ilikuwa stressful, labda ni block out subconsciously.
No matter how hard I try, I always find myself ending up in here.
You don't have to. You could always call.
I wish that would suffice.
You are a strong woman, Mama. One of the strongest women I know.
Don't compromise your form. Keep it tight. Slip by your hook.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Please don't avoid me, please.
No. I'm not avoiding you. I just don't have anything to say to you.
Yes, we do. You see, what happened last night between us wasn't just anything.
Mr. Julio, what happened last night shouldn't have happened at all.
Well, for me, it was extremely important,
No,
and I
Mr.
really like to...
Huh? What do you think, my love?
Well, for me, I love it. My love, I'm so excited.
Me too, I'm very excited.
Let me be by your side. I need to be with you, hug you and kiss you. And you ask me to stay away, that I forget you and to have no feelings for you?
In love with Ramon.
Thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya, and this is the only way to start your morning. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and in case you've just joined us, welcome to the program, and you can talk to us through our social media platforms and also engage us on the content that we're bringing your way this Tuesday. Now, joining us live from Nairobi is the CEO of NACADA, that is Victor Okioma. We'll be discussing issues to do with alcohol and drugs consumption in the wake of COVID-19. Victor, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for
welcoming us to this platform.
Right, you're welcome. Now we can begin maybe by you sharing with us some of the patterns that have emerged when it comes to alcohol consumption in the wake of COVID-19.
Once again, thank you for this show. I think COVID-19 has, for us in the authority, come with a very interesting experience. You know, we're now talking about the normal, and the new normal is that bars are closed, and many of us who will be visiting these places have got to look for alternatives. The new normal is also that we are home with our children. Many of them are on online studies of one kind or the other. And therefore, the changes that we have observed in this new normal is that despite the closure of bars and restaurants and the general ban on sale of alcohol in these places, people still have to find their way to access their drink. And therefore, we have seen a new normal where drinking in homes has become a matter of concern for us in the authority. And you know, you are drinking at home as the children are learning, and you can see that kind of image. We have seen a new normal where people have started drinking from the parking places. We have seen people in the streets, people in the cars, wherever they are parked, drinking. This is something we have also observed as a way of going around the restrictions imposed on sale of alcohol. And another new normal that we have observed is that there is an upsurge in the online sale of alcohol to homes, to places where the hideouts where people are drinking. So we have observed that despite the restrictions, people are still able to access, and they have become very innovative in trying to access their alcohol.
Yeah.
That is an issue that we are actually getting concerned. Even the abuse of what we call the off-bar license, what you would call wines and spirits. Wines and spirits are meant to dispense alcohol from around 5 to about 8, but we have seen some of them open from as early as 8 and close as late as, and some of them is selling and, you know, they are dispensing from on site, which is not allowed. It has become a new practice that we observe on a daily basis, and it's an issue of great concern to us.
All right, and you talk about
those are some of the kind of innovative ways of going against the directives that we should not sell alcohol in bars and in restaurants, and therefore these are mechanisms that have been designed by those who drink to make sure they continue to access their drink.
All right, Victor, I'm very sure you've also observed the sort of relationship that has been between regulators, bars, and the government when it comes to the issue of alcohol, sale of alcohol in the country. How do you propose, or what role will NACADA play to try and sanitize the chain as it is right now?
Let me say that NACADA's mandate is basically to generally regulate the alcohol sector, and we do this with a number of players, some of whom have their own specific mandates. Like, for example, when you talk about our partnership with KEBS, when we are doing our enforcement operations, their work is basically to assist us to identify what is certified alcohol and what is not. And I can tell you that in the sector, in the industry, we have counterfeit alcohol. We have some alcohol that is not certified, and we cannot really say where it's coming from. And these are the challenges. We also work with the public health and the county government in doing our enforcement operations. and they have a specific role they play in this, and we do this as a multi-agency. We team up with quite a number of other agencies to be able to ensure that there is compliance to various laws that regulate the alcohol sector. What I can say is that from our monitoring and surveillance, there are quite a number of challenges in that sector. And I think the way to go is to continue as a multi-agency to make sure that we bring sanity in that sector. Because as it is now, we have a lot of challenges.
Right. And will you be playing any role to try and bring sanity into the sector and avert the challenges therein?
Yes, of course, we are actually the lead agency in terms of regulating the alcohol industry. And a lot of these enforcement activities I'm talking about, we actually are the people who constitute these teams. And our mandate, we are actually required to coordinate with other lead agencies to ensure some of the enforcement activities that we carry out, like ensuring that there is alcohol in the industry and the market is safe. That is actually our key mandate under the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act. We are required to ensure that the alcohol in the market is safe, and we do this by a multi-agency team that looks at the public health aspects of premises which are being used. We do this by, for example, we are supposed to ensure that all the premises that are selling alcohol are licensed by their respective counties. And when we do the multi-agency, we also involve all counties to confirm that these premises are actually licensed. So it is really a multi-agency approach that we lead, because that is ours is to coordinate response to ensure that we protect Kenyans from unsafe alcohol in the market. So we do that very often, and we are the lead agency in that team.
In the course of your constant study of some of these patterns, what would you say, or what would you identify as the main causes of drug and alcohol abuse in the country?
Well, of course, there are many causes of alcohol of alcohol abuse, and let me start by saying that abuse of alcohol basically means that you're using it for other reasons. That you become dependent on alcohol, and you cannot function normally until you have taken alcohol. That is when we have issues of dependence. And abuse, therefore, comes from the fact that as a human being, you are not able to function normally. You cannot sleep. You cannot concentrate on your work unless you have taken alcohol. That is the time we now talk about abuse. Now, there are many explanations, and when you talk to people in those who indulge in this, they will tell you it's because we are unemployed. We don't have anything to do. Others will tell you, I drink so that I can fit in my group because my peers drink. Yeah, there are also issues of poor parenting, where we expose our young children to alcohol at an early age. You go to your shelf and there's alcohol there in the fridge. There is wine, and and you in the evening when you are taking, you are also inducting your children into taking it. So that is one of the many concerns that we have raised actually under this period when parents are staying with their children at home. And from the surveys that we have carried out as an authority, we can tell you that a lot of the young people who are indulging in alcohol have actually learned this from their parents as they drink it in the house. And therefore we are unfortunately a risk factor, because the young people learn how to drink from their parents. There is also, I think, we do not monitor as parents what our young people are doing, and therefore they go out there and they are, through their company, they are able to start taking some drugs. And for us, because as innocent parents, we do not get to know that these children are getting introduced into some drugs, and you come to realize when it's too late. So close monitoring of a child grows by a parent will be able to send a signal that something is not right.
Yeah.
And that is what we encourage, that parents really need to be very close in terms of monitoring how their young children are behaving.
Yeah.
And when they realize strange behavior, they should be able to send a signal and look for help before it's too late. So there are many reasons why people drink. Others drink because it's leisure.
Yeah, but let's keep up with that bit of parents having to monitor their children, because some years back, John Mututho had raised concern over the increasing number of teenagers and adolescents who were taking alcohol then. Has this pattern changed years down the line?
Well, I think I wouldn't say it has changed. In fact, from the surveys we have done, one on the drug, abuse preferences in secondary schools, I think we did in 2016. And in 2018, we have done a survey on preference of drug abuse in primary schools. And our statistics shows that we have a growing concern, and actually more and more young people in our schools are actually involved in drinking. And this is actually a great concern for us, because you see, when you find these growing trends in our institutions of learning, then you realize that we are, as a country, going the wrong direction. The management of our institutions, I think perhaps they have not put in place a mechanism to be able to detect early when there are this kind of abuses on drugs in our institutions. And as an authority, this is an area we have been focusing on. We have actually a lot of practical, very aggressive engagement with the administration of our institutions. And we are currently working with the Ministry of Education to come up with a curriculum that will address some of these concerns that we have observed in our institutions. So I wouldn't say that the problem has been addressed. I am saying we are trying to address the problem, but it is a challenge that we all must focus on.
All right, let's talk about COVID-19 and the fact that health officials have been saying that an increase in alcohol consumption within your body is going to increase your chances of contracting COVID-19. How have you been able to monitor this particular measure of evidence?
Well, I think for us, what we I think are more concerned with is the fact that COVID-19 and from the guidelines issued by government requires that you keep social distance, you wear a mask, you wash your hands. And the question I want to ask is, how do you do that when you are drunk? You cannot keep social distance when you have been drinking the whole evening. You may have started with the social distance, but as you go along, you will find that the social distance doesn't exist. And we have got cases when we are doing our surveillance. We have found people locked behind the bars, and they are crowded, and there's no social distance. So I can tell you that keeping social distance and indulging in drinking don't go together.
Yeah. And what of the stakeholder engagement when it comes to the whole issue of managing drugs and substance abuse in the country? How has that fared in terms of making your job easier at NACADA?
Well, our campaign, let me say this, our campaign is basically built around two pillars. One is on demand reduction. We target the demand reduction through our campaign activities, under which we engage various stakeholders, the youth, the borders, the schools, parents within the various catchments where we find them, like in churches where we have the women guild, where we have the men groups within the church. So we do the campaign through these partnerships with the hope that we create the awareness about the dangers of drug abuse. And by that, we hope that when the message sinks, people are able to kind of keep off the abuse. We engage the students, and we have actually the school-based program which we run as an authority, and through this program we engage the schools and talk to the students. We also have a life skill which targets the young people in schools, which actually is meant to stop their initiation into drugs by creating the awareness early enough to be able to stop from getting initiated into drug abuse. So we do the campaign under the demand reduction pillar to be able to create the awareness that will help people realize that there are dangers in abusing drugs, and that there is a way you can manage it. We also do promote rehabilitation for those who are affected.
Yeah.
And our involvement in the area of treatment is basically by inspecting and accrediting the facilities that do offer these services. But the majority of them are actually privately owned. And that is one area that we are facing the challenges. And in fact, our engagement currently is to appeal to county governments who are actually under the new constitution. That function has been devolved to them to try and build facilities that are publicly owned, which would be more accessible. The government-owned facilities are few, and therefore our call is that we need to actually do much more. And in showing the way, we have actually currently, through a presidential directive, we are doing a rehab in Miritini in Mombasa. We hope that our dream there is to bring up a center for excellence in that place. We are currently starting small, but we are hoping that we'll be able to mobilize resources to put up a center for excellence in the management of addiction in the country. And our appeal is basically to counties. This is an area that we need to invest in so that we are able to address those who are already affected. As we do the campaign for those who have not been affected to stop getting involved to the extent that they will be in a problem, we also must respond to those who are actually in a problem as we are talking about. If you go across the country, Mombasa, Nairobi here, you see a number of cases of young people who have been affected with drugs, who are in the dens, who are in the streets. And these are Kenyans that we must be able to look for a way of assisting them.
Is the legislative framework sufficient to facilitate what you've just said?
The legal framework, the legal framework is, in my own view, sufficient because the counties, under their own legal frameworks, which they have actually customized from the alcoholic drinks control, creates room for those kind of demand reduction programs. And indeed, this is really a facility that you really don't need a law to be able to put up a facility to assist your people. What the law, like, what you expect is that there is a licensing regime which is in place. You can go through the licensing regime, and you are licensed to start up your own facility, rehabilitation facilities. There is no big challenge on that area.
Oh, nice. So when you look at what a majority of counties are doing, they're trying to set up rehabilitation centers to help those that are currently affected by drug and substance abuse. However, the question begs, how sustainable can some of these initiatives be, and what needs to happen so that the result of any rehabilitation program is actually sustainable?
What needs to happen is, first and foremost, let me put it this way, that we have not done much in that area of putting up rehabs to support those of us who are affected. And the first stop is that let us invest in these facilities. And we have actually engaged proactively with a number of counties in this, and I can tell you currently around 10 counties we have had partnership with have already started putting in place. In fact, others have already finalized. They have done their rehabs with our we appeal to the rest of the counties to respond to this need, because in our midst, in our counties, we have a number of young people who are affected and who need this sort of help. So for us, we will continue to inspect those that are available to ensure that the services that are offered in those facilities are able to respond to the needs of those who are affected. What we have currently is some rehabs which actually do not have the capacity to deliver on an effective rehabilitation service. That we have been going around, and we are ensuring that all those facilities that do not have the right skills, the right facilities, the right equipment to address this do not operate until they are put in place all this equipment and these facilities.
Right.
You are talking about sustainability. Sustainability is an issue that really depends on whether you have put aside resources that will ensure that you have the right staff. And for government, the issue of sustainability is not an issue. You are able to recruit staff because this is a facility. A rehabilitation is actually a sort of treatment. And if you have the right staff and you have the right equipment, you should be able to have no problem, because the people will always be there. And sustainability is that the counties must set aside a budget to ensure these facilities are running. If they are running, it's just like a clinic. If you put the staff and you're able to set aside funds to support the operations of that clinic, it is the same way you will manage the rehabs. And they are better managed by counties who are able to recruit staff and pay them. And of course, they have very many people who need this service. So the issue of sustainability should not be a challenge at all.
Okay, Victor, the last map out in terms of the critical areas that need attention when it comes to alcohol and drugs, and substance abuse, we saw regions like the coast, we saw regions like central Kenya, and a lot needed to be done at that point to save these regions from a dire situation. Has this improved since then?
Alcohol and drug abuse is a big challenge in the country. In fact, you have only mentioned 3, and I can tell you that there are more regions that have a serious problem of alcohol and drug abuse. Going forward, what needs to be done is we continue the campaign, and more importantly, this campaign must be spearheaded by the county governments. That is the best way to go. As NACADA, we are willing to work with other counties to ensure that this campaign is sustained. And indeed, I must say that in central Kenya, we have had very, very aggressive campaigns there. And that, of course, like you have talked about the 10 counties, we have Nyeri. They have done a very big facility there. And I was in Moranga the other day. They are all equally concerned, and I think they are in the process. The county government is in the process of establishing a very big rehab center there, which was formerly, I think, used as a rehab, but they pull out. But they are again going back into it. There are quite a number of counties in Central that realize that they have a problem, and I have seen leaders expressing their concern about the situation. And really, the way to go is this matter must be spearheaded by the county and supported by the leadership in those counties, so that the issue of alcohol and drug abuse becomes a campaign that brings on board everybody that is concerned. Because unless we go that way, this country has a serious problem of drug and substance abuse that really actually threatens to undermine whatever development we have made since independence, and therefore it is a matter that should be taken up by the counties and the leadership of those counties, and ensure that everybody is brought on board so that they are able to speak out about this problem and they are able to take action against the drug and substance abuse, and in fact identify those who are perpetuating this problem and work with the security enforcement agencies in those regions to ensure that they cut the supply of these drugs and illicit alcohol within those communities. That is the only way we are going to make any progress in the campaign against alcohol and drug abuse in the country.
Okay, and let me, for example, now draw your attention to some of your recent partnerships. For example, down at the coast, you recently partnered with the Kenya Ports Authority to try and counter the effects of drug and substance abuse in that region. Just kindly talk to us a little bit about the nature of partnership that you're having with the Kenya Ports Authority in this regard.
Well, I think the Kenya Ports Authority has been our partner for quite, I think, over 5 years. And we went in there on invitation by KPA to try and put in place a workplace program that will sensitize the staff and try to, develop a policy framework on how to deal with the drug within the organization. This was a need that was, brought out by the KPA, and they sought our assistance. We went in there. We have done. We did a baseline survey on the drug situation, and the findings were that that organization actually had a serious problem. In excess of 30-40% of staff were actually dealing with addiction issues. That's so we started the program, the workplace program with KPA, and we have been working together progressively trying to find out. The situation currently has actually improved since we went in to start this program. I was with the MD the other day when he covered this in the media. Mm-hmm. And really what we went there to do is to appreciate the partnership. And as a token of appreciation, they gave us a check of 1 million to support the ongoing rehabilitation work in Miritini, which I have already mentioned. And therefore, this partnership is something that has been going on, basically to support the organization to identify the challenges of ADA in the organization and put in place programs to address them. And as a result, that appreciation of one check, in fact, they have committed that going forward, they are going to assist the organization more because, one, they are in the neighborhood, and therefore, as a corporate social responsibility, they have committed to support that facility. And secondly, for us, the port is very strategic because a lot of the drug trafficking goes through the port, and therefore, we are sensitizing the staff and working together to put in place mechanisms to ensure that we are monitoring whatever comes in through the port, and we are able to detect. So that is basically the partnership we have had with KPA, and we also have a partnership with other organizations where we are working with them to address the drug workplace-related drug issues. I can mention, for example, we have had the Energy and Petroleum Regulation Authority. We have been working with them. Okay. We have worked with a number of counties on this program.
Yes,
we have worked with a number of. In fact, this financial year we are targeting to work with I think of 100 and plus state corporations in undertaking a workplace program.
Victor, I wouldn't like us to wind up this interview without getting your comment on this matter, because now licensing on the importation and exportation of alcoholic drinks will now become a function of NACADA. Previously, it was being done by the county governments. Now it's strictly under your docket. Kindly talk to us about this move and how it's going to foster delivery of your mandate moving forward as NACADA.
Well, by the way, let me mention that licensing of import and export is international trade. It is not meant to be a function of any county government. That should be the position. And the problem actually that we are talking about started by the failure for the transition authority, which was mandated to devolve the functions that were meant to be devolved to counties. Yes. They failed to unbundle that function of licensing. That has been causing that confusion, and it's through the engagement with the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee that we were able to identify a gap in terms of licensing of imports, because which county government will be responsible for an activity that is international trade in nature? There is no function, there is no county that has been given any mandate on international trade. And therefore, import and export is basically an international trade. And because of alcohol being a controlled, I would call it a drug, we as NACADA have the mandate to regulate alcohol in the country. That is basically what happened. So we have basically taken over the import and the export because it's an international trade, doesn't fall within any county government. So if there was anything that was being done by whichever county to license import or export of alcohol, I think that was a kind of a gap that we have really addressed currently, and I don't think there's an issue now.
Do you still have concern over the increase when it comes to online liquor sales? You had the same in May this year. What's the situation now?
The situation is even worse now. In fact, the campaign we have been having, you remember through this partnership with KBC, we have been running the positive parenting.
Yeah.
And one of the things why we started that program is because we wanted an opportunity to warn parents that alcohol in the house is a serious threat to, it's a serious exposure to young people, and the potential to initiate them into early, what we call underage drinking. And the online sale has only become very active because people are at home and the bars are closed. So that's why they are actually using online to access alcohol in the house. When it's delivered there, some parents, maybe they have a way to hide it from the children. Others may be just taking it together with the children. I do not know. But what we are saying as an authority, that is an unwarranted exposure of young people with a potential for early initiation into drinking. It is a dangerous habit, and we as an authority have been trying to discourage it.
Okay.
The other thing that is of concern to us as online is the fact that even young people can be able to access alcohol through online sales. That has been proved. In fact, what happens with online is you take a phone and call the distributor of alcohol, and you just get a motorbike to deliver to your wherever hideout where you are.
Yes.
And once it arrives there, you pay. That man who is delivering, whether a child or adult, he just has is just doing delivery.
All right.
So what we are saying is that through this online sale, we have evidence that the young people are actually accessing alcohol through online sales, and we have been, campaigning against that practice.
Okay.
In fact, we are now looking at the best way to control this. Some of these online sources are not even known where they are.
All right, Victor Kioma.
If they were registered somewhere, and we know that this is the supplier, it becomes very easy even for KEPS or the other agencies to check and confirm that they comply to certain basic requirements.
Okay.
That is the concern we have.
All right, Victor Okioma there, the CEO, NACADA. Thank you so much for your time and contribution. Have a nice day moving forward. Now, Muthomi Njoke, Tharakanithi County Governor, yesterday presented himself before the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to answer to questions around a 34.9 million Kenya shillings solid waste management project in his county. Now, pursuant to that particular questioning with EACC, he is today set to be arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts. And following up on that story is our reporter Sarafina Robi, who now joins us live from Milimani Law Courts for an update on what is happening there this far. Sarafina, good morning. What is the latest from your end?
Indeed, a very good morning, Sam. Yes? Indeed, a very good morning, Sam. We're coming to you live from the Milimani Law Courts here in Nairobi, and the pictures you're seeing are the pictures of some of the officials from that are to be arraigned here at the Milimani Law Courts, alongside the Tharakanithi Governor Muthomi Njuki and 16 other county officials who have already arrived here at the Milimani Law Courts, and they are to be arraigned any minute from now. Well, as of today, or as of morning when we arrived here, we're expecting to have them, or for them to arrive here, so that we can follow up or bring you live proceedings of what will happen here at the Milimani Law Courts, given that the governor of Tharakanithi, Muthomi Njuki, and 16 other officials were yesterday, spent the better part of yesterday at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, whereby they're being grilled over allegations, over graft allegations, whereby they are alleged to have awarded an irregularly awarded a tender of about 34.9 million shillings for the purchase or for the procurement of a solid waste incinerator without environmental impact assessment, or also considering other factors that go in when awarding a tender. Well, also other things that are going to follow up here in regards to this case is that also as of on Friday, the DPP, Nurdin Haji, said that they had gotten information in regards to the awarding of the tender, where about 7 companies had put in bid for the tender, and one of the company that got the tender, which is Westomax, got the tender, though it had fraudulent documents, and it was awarded the tender, and there were other companies, about 6 of them, which were not awarded. So they'll be following up to get to understand to the bottom of the matter, to get to know how the whole procurement process happened. And as of now, we can assure you that the governor of Tharakanithi, Muthomi Njuki, has already been brought here, as we've seen 2 vans being driven in here, and 16 other county officials. In a minute, they're going to be arraigned here, and we'll be bringing you live proceedings of what will happen. Back to you, Sam.
If Vision 2030 is implemented correctly, we are going to go many people.
We will definitely be keeping you up to date with what, as and when we get that information as it comes in. So do stay with us right here on KBC Channel 1. Now we want to continue with the day's conversation. And as I had mentioned earlier on in the intro, today we're going to be having a conversation with the Kenya Society of Physiotherapists to just understand what physiotherapy does entail, given that we are also marking the World Physiotherapy Day today. And with us in studio this morning, we have Dr. Catherine Wambua, who is to the extreme side of the studio this morning. She is the Secretary General of the Kenya Society of Physiotherapists. And to my immediate left, we also have Henry Opondo, who is the Chair of the Kenya Society of Physiotherapists. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time to be with us.
Nice meeting you here.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you, Dr. for also being with us this morning.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, now before we get to what World Physiotherapy Day is all about, so many of us have our own understanding of what physiotherapy is. You know, we take it so lightly, we think we know, but we want to hear from the professionals this morning. And let me start with you, Henry. When you talk about physiotherapy, what scientifically, medically speaking, what does it entail?
Thank you so much for having us here. When we talk about physiotherapy, to make it simplest, first of all, it is a branch of medicine, or rather it is a healthcare profession. Now, what does it entail? It entails assessment. Assessment is like looking out into what could be issue with a patient. It entails diagnosing, that is coming up with a concrete idea of what is affecting the patient. And finally, it entails treatment of diseases or disabilities that one person may be presenting with.
Okay. Now, you've rightfully mentioned that it is a part of medicine, but, you know, just let me come to you, Dr. Catherine. Looking at we, the general population, do you think we really abuse what physiotherapy is because we like self-diagnosing and treating ourselves through and through?
Yes, thank you for having us. Yes, I think physiotherapy, in many eyes, what it is not, it's not the massage, it's not the heat, it's not what people say it is. It has evolved just like the rest of the world in terms of science.
Okay.
So we actually use evidence in terms of research, clinical experience, patient values, and interact them to be able to see exactly what is wrong. So what happens is in the population, people use the word exercise as physiotherapy.
Physiotherapy, yeah.
And exercise actually is a good word because the whole body is supposed to be exercised, but that's not right science. So there is the right exercise and there's the wrong exercise. And so now for us physio, we start from health promotion all the way to curative to rehabilitation.
Okay.
And so when we are looking at a person, we are actually looking at what has been researched to find what is the problem, what is the cause of the problem, before you start treating yourself. Because there are some people out there who use the wrong techniques, the wrong, you know, for us, we stayed for many years without being regulated. So there's a lot of people who camouflage as physios who are not. And so I think those are the ones who have given us a bad name of what physio is. But physio is a very deep science. It's scientific based. And so what we want to educate the public is to be able to know what kind of conditions do we treat, how do we treat them, so that they can have a better outcome.
And we'll be getting to the details of that to give us an example of what physio does entail so that we can compare with what you and I may have experienced in the past to understand whether that was physio or self-administering other treatments. But before we get to that, let me come back to you, Henry. You know, as Dr. has said, you know, we like to treat ourselves. Guilty as charged. Now, in your practice as a physiotherapist interacting with other patients, what are some of those misguided conceptions that you have encountered that patients come with about physiotherapy and how it is administered?
That's a very good question to ask. So some of the scenarios I've experienced with patients about the funny myths or misconception about physiotherapy is that, number one, anyone can do it.
Hello.
Two, as just Dr. had said, they think, most of the people think physiotherapy, it's entirely about massage. Massage is not even a component of physiotherapy. You can do massage.
Yes, anyone can do massage. Even my 7-year-old can.
So, honestly speaking, massage is not bad, and it's good. Human love touch, but it's not any. It doesn't meet any of the clinical tools that we use to treat a patient. Okay. So, most of the patients, and with a very outermost respect, they go to gym, workout, and so forth, and they believe the persons in the gym are physiotherapists. So they'll tell you, my physiotherapist told me this, blah, 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 when I was doing these exercises. They actually come to us when it is worse, when now they're in so much pain, maybe they sprain their back and so forth. So if there's anything I can say about misconception is that they have not been able to differentiate what is physiotherapy, what is the scope of physiotherapy versus other modalities that we see in the market.
That come masked as physiotherapy. And I also like to hear from you, Catherine, you know, the misconceptions that you have encountered from your patients, especially as you try to just teach them or show them what physiotherapy really entails.
Yes, and mostly I think our clients, our patients come from a position of not having known, and so they use their prior experience. So sometimes patients will come and say, I hope you don't make me feel a lot of pain, because they've had an experience where physio is delivered in a painful method. Or they've had occasions where they were in the hands of physio and it took a long time before they had a resolve. So what we are trying to educate the public is there is defined methods of delivering physio, and every person is very different. So that if you're coming to a physical therapist or physiotherapist and you had a strained shoulder, and maybe somebody else had a broken ankle, or you had a spinal cord injury, the way we look at how we treat is very individualized, so that it's not one size fits all type of a method where we have found that's the expectation for the public. I'm going to the physio, she's going to give me exercise. That is not the case. If you have a case of a back that has been corrected and you have metal, if I put it that way, in your spine, I'll treat you differently than if you had just sprained your back. So it needs to be, we need to might be demand more from a clinician in terms of the type of physio that is given to the patient.
It's always individualized.
It is very individualized.
Yes, Henry.
Yeah, just to top up on what Dr. is saying, I totally agree. And I think one thing we need to make clear to the general public, that a physiotherapist is not only concerned with your symptoms, but what is causing your symptoms.
The root cause.
The root cause. So this is actually what happens when patients come to us. What they put on their list is to resolve their symptoms. But as we want to resolve your symptoms, we want to establish what is causing this problem so that we correct the cause of the problem to alleviate your symptoms.
Does physiotherapy have to be painful?
No. That's an old tradition that no pain, no gain.
Yeah, if you don't feel pain, ukisuguliwa, that means you're not recovering.
Hata kusuguliwa ni nini? We don't know that.
As we perceive it.
That's actually just a perception. So these are the people who want to mimic what they saw maybe in a YouTube or in a video somewhere, and want to practice it across the entire population of patients. Maybe they have back pain. But remember, back pain, it could be the same back pain, but the presentation will be different based on individual. For example, you could be having back pain, but what is the cause of your back pain, or what is the nature of your work, versus a person who maybe is a driver. So the presentation will be slightly different. So it becomes a standard pain that no pain, no gain. When you want to use one concept across the entire population, it has to be customized based on your need. But how do you customize this? Through inclusive assessment. A physiotherapist is empowered, has the knowledge, has the skills to assess an individual and find out what is your problem, and this is how we are going to address the problem. So yes, it's not the concept of no pain, no gain.
All right, so you don't have to feel pain to know that you're actually getting the proper form of treatment. And when it comes to now the proper forms of treatment, let me come to you, Dr. Catherine. What are the different forms of physiotherapy that are there that, you know, are mostly administered to different patients depending on the kind of symptoms that you present with?
As I said, our scope, you know, we're treating patients all the way from, you know, children to the adults. And the problem that they present. For example, if you're seeing a child who has cerebral palsy, it may be that their joints are contracted or tight, they don't have strength, they don't have balance, they don't have a means to walk without falling. So for that type of a child, you are thinking, I need to strengthen this joint, I need to work on balance, I need to maybe look at assistive technology for them to be able to function in their environment. So that could be different than if I'm seeing somebody who has might be recovering from a spinal cord injury, where there are some things that I cannot do right now, but I need to do in 2 weeks. So the type of exercise that we do, all of it is called exercise, but to a physiotherapist, the exercise is defined into hardened types, and there are those that are not to do and those to do, depends on the time. So if you came to me and maybe you had your shoulder, and maybe you were playing tennis, you did something, you tore up your shoulder, and the doctor went in and did a procedure, there is the therapeutic type of exercise that are fit for you at week 1 versus week 4.
Looking
Because
at the recovery
I can
period.
damage your graft if they grafted your shoulder. So there are those patients who you think, if let's example, if you're doing a head injury patient, the type of exercise that you provide is different from the type of exercise you give to somebody might be with their multiple sclerosis. So they are all very different. So we do things like therapeutic exercise, balance. Right now we have really progressed in technology when it comes to robotics, and soon coming to Kenya also, where for those joints that are not able to regain their movement, where they can use instruments to pursue that and to adapt. We use a lot of assistive device because as Henry said, our goal is to make you function at the highest level possible in your own environment. So if you are paralyzed from your waist down and you're a producer and you need to come to work, what do you need to do? So we train you to get your balance, to be able to get yourself from maybe a chair to the car, lift, be able to function. So if you have to go stairs with your wheelchair, we have to teach you how to use that. So the type, so we can, if it is pain, we can do things that are short-lived, like ultrasound, electrical stim. Those are short-lived. They don't really go in to cure the problem. And what Henry was saying is, for us, we are looking at what is the cause. So we are not going to massage around a knife that is in your chest. We are going to look at that knife, take it out, and then we will structure the tissue that has infected. So every condition, and the range is big. I hope we will have an opportunity to talk about the range of the conditions that we actually treat, because we do a lot of conditions.
And speaking of the conditions, there's one tweet by one lady called Daisy here on Twitter who's asking, I was advised to go for hydrotherapy to help with disc prolapse that I had. Is this the right way to go to help me recover? Disc prolapse and hydrotherapy.
Great. I think that's accurate. We're looking at the bigger picture. What is hydrotherapy in the first place, and what is disc prolapse? So disc prolapse is a medical diagnosis, and there are many, science says that there are many was disc prolapse and they don't have symptoms. It's normal. You see, like my face, 10 years down the line, my face was a little bit smoother than today. Another 10 years from today, it will change. That's normal part of wearing off. So the same with our spine. They wear off. And most of the time our spine is in activity, like now it's in use and so forth. So that's normal part of wearing off. That should not really make the patient feel like, yes, my disc is out, will it can't get back. Really, there's nothing like it will get back or it will what. As long as you are optimally functioning. So hydrotherapy is treatment. It's a form of physiotherapy treatment whereby you use heated water, certain temperature that's absorbable to the body. So you do a range of exercises in water, and you go in with a trained physiotherapist. Now, the exercises you are given are tailor-made or customized based on your needs. So basically, what are we looking at hydrotherapy and disc prolapse? We are looking at trying to stabilize those, to activate your core muscles so that your spine can be stable in the midst of your activities. So yes, it's a good treatment for her.
All right, so Daisy, I think that there is your answer. Hydrotherapy is good for disc prolapse, and I believe disc prolapse is when the spaces between the backbone collapse.
So
in general terms of speaking,
to make it simple, easy. Like a balloon. A balloon, you can compress the balloon, and when you compress it like this, the sides expands. So the same with the disc, because of maybe any other issue, maybe mechanical pressure, a lot of weight. So there's that compression force, and the side of the disc herniates or protrudes out. That's what we call a prolapse.
All right. So there you have it, Daisy. Tuache kujidiagnose na kujitibu, and according to Daktari here, that is a proper way of treatment to help with your problem. Keep sending in your questions, comments, or any clarifications that you may be needing in regards to this particular conversation about physiotherapy. We are here to help you be empowered and understand what forms of treatment you are getting. Tusiache kuingia kwa ofisi ya daktari and we don't know what we are going in for, and at the end of the day, information is power. So the hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Now let me come back to the society in itself of physiotherapists. When it comes to just making sure that we do not have quacks who are parading around calling themselves a physiotherapist and ultimately causing more harm to patients, how are you as a society just making sure that when it comes to licensing and registering physiotherapists, at least according to your society, you are per the book and everyone has been licensed that is under their society?
A very good question. And as we know, honestly speaking, that in terms of regulations in this country, healthcare industry is one of the highly regulated industry because just of the risk that is associated with it. So as Kenya Society of Physiotherapists, we are not mandated by law to license physiotherapists, but it is our mandate to provide trainings, continuous professional development, because there's a lot of changes day in, day out. We provide information that are relevant to our patient needs in the society, so that our physiotherapists are updated at all the time. Without saying much, Kenya Society of Physiotherapists, as per the Physiotherapy Act 2014, we are mandated to help in the formulation or the composition of what we call Physiotherapy Council of Kenya. Now, it is the council that is the regulatory body. It has the authority or the mandate to ascertain that the said physiotherapist who is going to offer these services is duly trained, registered, and licensed to carry on. So we have a regulatory body that is in charge. If you are found to be training without licensure, you can be prosecuted. So it is a law that is in the Act of Parliament. So our role as a physiotherapy, Kenya Society of Physiotherapy, is to promote learning forums, but to work with the council to make sure that all our patient population are protected by the genuine physiotherapists. And when I talk of genuine, it's trained and licensed. And it is important for our patients to ask the said physiotherapist who is attending to you, are you licensed? Because we have a very small, nice card, licensure, like a passport, that just say, yes, I'm licensed.
Have you had patients actually do that? Ask you before you start the treatment process?
Yes. Where I practice, you have a name tag and you have a license. So they're able to verify. They know who is attending to them. So they're able to verify that, yes, are you licensed or not licensed?
Dr.
And,
Kaki,
sorry to cut you short,
no worries.
Especially in healthcare setups where we use most of the sponsor for paying is insurance. Insurance are now very keen. You must prescribe your name against your license number.
Okay. Have you had the same situation when patients ask for your registration to just see it before you go ahead with treatment?
What we do is we post them so that you can reduce the burden of the patient having to ask. But we also talk to them about it. Of course, there is the issue of trust, and that's something that we have seen in the population where when you say you're a doctor, the patient automatically has that level of trust. So we want to encourage Kenyans to have the courage to ask, not just are you licensed, but even when the treatment is prescribed, that you can ask why. Why am I being asked to do this exercise? What's the goal? Because sometimes we find, anyway, in literature, if the patient understands why they're doing what you're prescribing to them, chances are they're going to comply.
Okay.
And yes, so we ask that, ask your clinician,
are you
licensed?
Yeah,
can I see it? It's not an overreach.
And it's not a crime.
No, it is okay.
All right. Now, when it comes to physiotherapy, do you always have to have some form of ailment to go for physiotherapy, or it can be part of your lifestyle? Let me start with you, Dr. Catherine.
Basically, as we said, when it comes to health promotion, the way our bodies were made is we have to be in motion.
Yes.
Without motion, which we call physical inactivity. Physical inactivity is what we have found right now leads to these non-communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension. And during COVID, you have seen what that has done to the people. And
Yes.
it may have started with just a reduction of physical activity where there is, you can ride in your car, on a motorbike, on a tuk-tuk, and come to work and sit. So when you look at in 24 hours a day and see how much time have you actually involved yourself in exercise that has value, not walking from 2-3 feet,
Yes.
but exercise that is planned, is good enough time. So we find there's a lot of physical inactivity. So we end up having these NCDs, and then COVID comes, and those are the patients who've had a lot of hit on that. So yes, you can start your physical therapy early, prevention.
Yes.
And then you can progress it now to curative if there is a condition. So majority of the people that come to us, are those that have already have a movement dysfunction.
They started presenting some symptoms.
Yes, the symptoms have come. And unfortunately, a lot of other big number come when they have tried everything. And it looks like it's failing, and now they remember us.
Okay.
So we're trying to fix things that sometimes have adapted, or somebody has even lost their job because the pain has been there. But what we educate people is come to physio early, because the earlier that we can see you after somebody has had a stroke, as quickly as you get stabilized with your symptoms, instead of going home and now your life stops there, go to physio so that you can now regain your function. If you have had a surgery, if you have had an injury playing on the field, or it depends on how you got it, seek services early so
As
that you
soon
can
as
resolve
possible.
early and go back to your life.
All right. And Henry, what are some of those symptoms that we need to look out for that maybe we have been seeing them, but we just sweep them under the rug? Sema nikilala, nikiamka nitakuwa sawa. What are some of those telltale symptoms that we need to be very careful about when it comes to seeking physiotherapy early enough?
Okay.
The common ones that cut across board.
The common ones, if you have any kind of discomfort that eases or gets worse with certain movement. So for example, you say, if I lie on my right, I feel more pain than when I lie on my left. We call it mechanical pain. If you have any kind of pain that you can provoke it and ease it, come for evaluation to find out what is causing your pain.
Okay. Come for evaluation.
Okay.
Any more?
That is very simple. Then there are many. There are really many. That's just a basic one. But we can spread it across. It's quite wide. We cannot exhaust it today.
Yes.
But we have different sub-speciality that we rarely talk about it. Like for example, when it comes to we call it women health. Okay. Do you know physiotherapy has a role? Not only in women health, but in man health. There we are looking at the structures around your bowels, okay? So you could be having issues to do with incontinence, that you are shy, you can't share. I mean, we've met different people, they tell you, when I go for meetings, I have to carry like 3 panties. So I just keep on checking because the urine leaks, okay? Feel free to approach a physiotherapist to share, and they'll be able to do an examination, find out what could be going on.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Dr. Catherine?
Yes, if I could add, and that's very good. He tackled with pain and women's health. We're talking about developmental delay in children. When you see, your kid is 14 months, they're not walking, or they're 6 months, they can't sit. Those
Hitting
delays,
the milestone rather
those
slowly as
milestones,
expected.
it's very important to stay on keen so that you can start the children can get help. Or all of a sudden you feel like you don't feel strong and you're not able to pin down what it is, or you're stumbling when you walk, because some of those are nerve conditions. Dizziness, sometimes you have vertigo. Sometimes it's from, as he said, just injuries that you get through life, because we do that. And sometimes it's every time you go to work, in the end of the day, your body just feels off. And maybe it's your ergonomics, how you sit, the position, because sometimes it can be a one-time visit to a physio who advises you on what you need to do differently. Sometimes I have patients who come and tell me my back hurts, and it's always in the morning. And we look back at, is it the mattress? Is it the position? Is it that you're weak? So, as he said, we're looking at the whole body.
Okay.
So what could be the cause? Is it because you suffered, somebody has Parkinson's? Sometimes you see that in older people when they start to slow down their walking, and you're thinking it's just the aging. We need to age well.
Okay.
We don't have to suffer physical disabilities as we age. And some of that is our scope, where we now come and show you what you need to do, even some of it on your own. So not just pain, but it could be even after surgery, after cancer treatment, when you lose so much muscle power. Right now, the majority of the people we are seeing is after they've been in the hospital for a prolonged period of time, you lose a lot of muscles. There's no pill out there to take in to get bulky or to get your muscles back. It goes through training.
Okay.
So you come into a space quickly, and so that you can get your function and go back.
All right. As you can see, physiotherapy it's a holistic approach.
It's holistic.
Yeah. It's not just narrowed down to Indio Shida, this is how you address it. Here are pills, do this, you'll be good. It's about looking at the root cause, which could be something totally different, like your mattress.
Yes.
People. All right. Now, there's one Kim here who's asking, what form of physiotherapy is best for expectant women? And especially talking about back aches, because I can speak from experience, that was a big problem. Let me start with you, Dr. Catherine, before we come to you, Henry.
Now, as we know, pregnancy is not an illness. Yes. It's a state of life. It's a beautiful phase of life. Some of the things that we see with pregnant women, especially if you add a little bit more weight, is that the curve of your back tends to become bigger. And as your curve of your back gets bigger and you're going forward, then the structures of your back are impinged. So you find many people will have that problem. Now, one of the things we say is, if you now wear like your high heels on top of that curve, and we know high heels, you know what high heels do.
In general.
We love them, but they lift your stomach forward. You kind of, it makes your buttock a little bit more prominent. But as you do that, you also make your back travel forward. And long term, it'll give you a problem with your back. The same thing, the same shape it gives to pregnancy. So we encourage mothers to maintain moderate exercise, especially walking. Very important until that time. And some of the people will walk up to even 9 months. They'll walk that morning, go have a baby. Water exercise is good, but I know that may not be in reach for many. Still keep doing your resisted exercise with little weights in your hands. If the pain is a lot, and sometimes you'll find mothers will have pain at the back, what we call their sacroiliac joint. It goes off a little bit. We have a little belt that we can give somebody to wear to just stabilize, or the physio can show you some exercises that can help you to release that area that has pain. But the majority of people actually needs to keep moving.
Okay.
We want to avoid lifting badly, and this is not just for the pregnant women, but even for the public, where people don't think, where is my back? Where is my nerve? What method should I use when I'm lifting? So we see a lot of people washing clothes from the floor, and we are thinking that's going to be our clients in a few years. They mop with towels, and they bend badly. They use short brooms. Just the way we work becomes a disaster when it comes to our backs.
Okay.
And so we advise, if you know your work is repetitive and it's going to be for a prolonged period of time, then maybe lift your service. And you'll see this with our mothers. As they get older, on Sunday when we go back to churches and you start looking at people, you see how they bend forward.
Yeah.
And they are bending forward because that is the position that is comfortable for them to get off their nerve. And they are not able to straighten up. It's not like they prefer that position, but over time, cumulatively, they have wore their backs because of the things that we do. So it's important for us to think how to take care of our bodies. We need to keep them moving, strong, just like we eat every day, 3 times a day, some people more than that. We need to think about exercise because the 2 components is what makes a healthy body.
All right. We always need to assume positions that come naturally to the body and avoid these unnatural positions that consequently, when you teach your body, it adapts and going back might become a problem. Yes, Dr. Henry.
My parting shot on what Dr. Aria said.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very good question. Take, for example, our vehicles that we drive. We are very good in maintaining them, okay, especially men. Very good, very
like a service.
Service. You don't have to wait until it has an issue. The same thing we are supposed to do to our own bodies.
Yes.
The way our expectant sisters, mothers go for prenatal clinics, it doesn't harm to have a visit to a physical therapist, to a physiotherapist, just to ascertain that you are moving optimally based on who you are.
Okay.
Okay? So there's a slogan that movement is health. And you can tell that with the pregnancy, there are bound to be changes in body mass, sitting posture, walking. Be a friend to a physiotherapist. As you see your obs and gyna, make an attempt, even if it is once. Just to go for an evaluation. Don't wait until you feel pain. Pain is good because to us it says you are still alive.
And there's a problem.
And then it says there's something need to be addressed.
Yes. All right.
So my parting shot, go for check.
An evaluation.
Evaluation. That's what Dr. had mentioned, that what we call health promotion and fitness, which is part of physiotherapy as well.
All right.
Yes.
So always waddling around like a penguin, you don't have to do that. Just a visit at the physiotherapist could help you with that. And as he has said, movement is all that you need, especially when it comes to our expectant sisters. Now, as we draw the conversation to a close, today is World Physiotherapist Day. What does this day mean to you as a physiotherapist?
Well, I feel like it's my birthday. Yeah. So World Physiotherapy Day, it is 8th September. 8th September, it was brought in together with our mother organization. Our mother organization is called World Physiotherapy, which is based in London. It's a day that we come together as physiotherapists, reflect on what we do, and enlighten the public. And the public is now anyone who is not a physiotherapist, including our own colleagues in the medical field, so that we can just share with them what is our contribution to One Health, what we call holistic approach. What is our contribution? Because no one is a custodian of all the knowledge. Okay? I cannot know what is going on in this house. I cannot know entirely what a physician does, because they have got different specialty, but approaching or addressing One Health. So it is an opportunity for us to come, as you've given us the opportunity, to enlighten the public. What is our crucial role in the management of patients? But this year, the theme was tailor-made to COVID. So we are out to enlighten the public on the crucial role as a frontliner in COVID-19. What is our contribution to your recovery as a patient? All right.
And maybe on the same breath, Dr. Catherine, the relationship between the physiotherapy and COVID, briefly as we draw the conversation to a close, and how physiotherapy can help in the process.
When COVID came upon us, as the rest of the medical team, we had to evolve quickly to understand what's the science behind what's happening to the patient and what our role is. The fortunate bit is that physiotherapists, even before, were involved in acute care, ICU management of patients. And most of the COVID patients were having the issues of their respiratory system, their lungs. And so what we had to do quickly is to learn from the science that was feeding from the world is exactly what is the best techniques to use to optimize breathing, because that's where the issue was. So for those who are on mechanical ventilation, looking at what can we do before to keep them from having to go through mechanical ventilation. And we found things like putting them on their stomach, which we call prone, was helping to get the air in better so that you avoid them getting on the ventilators.
Okay.
Those who are on ventilators, to make sure that we use the right method to be able to remove the secretions, because if you're flooding in secretion, it's very hard to breathe. And so we had to use the better methods of getting those secretions out. Those who are getting weakness because of being in ICU, you have to prevent that weakness, because as you are staying in the ICU, that happens. And then after you come out, following up to make sure people regain their strength. Those who are getting their lungs are scarring, how to improve their capacity. So in COVID, we have been involved from ICU and now all the way to outpatient and community.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So in brief, that is, the relationship that is there between physiotherapy and COVID-19. And in as much as we would love to continue with this particular conversation, we have to put a cap on that conversation, or we definitely make more time for it. But do stay with us. Remember, we have been talking with Dr. Catherine Wambua. She is the Secretary General at the Kenya Society of Physiotherapists, as well as Henry Opondo, who is the chair of the Kenya Society of Physiotherapists. Thank you very much for coming in studio to enlighten us more about physiotherapy. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, keep talking to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya. We take a very quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more of Good Morning Kenya.
Na msibabaishwe na yale mnayoyapitia, hata yawe magumu kiasi gani, yote yatapita. La msingi ni kuweka tumaini letu kwa Mungu aliyetuumba. Katika kitabu cha Warumi 5:3, wala si hivyo tu, ila mnafurahia.
Kupata dhiki huleta zaburi. Bonyeza *811 *963#. Bonyeza *811 *963#.
People gonna say all kind of things about you.
With them on, just shake up. Need to mush you one, done to mush you one. When your booty gon' show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy.
Trago y ella la botea. Let's go.
Ha, I needed some with some bop in it. Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro, 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 choro. Get the pago, get the party more, get the pago.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I am sure Sushim is going to win the stage.
Of course. But in this stage, I wish to see how Ashok, the son of Dharma, who is against violence, confronts a situation of war.
You have proposed Ashok's name. The boy's thought process is way ahead of his age and these times.
The sun does not need to be taught how to shine in the sky.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Yani kama ajali about past yake, she's a whole new person.
Past yake ilikuwa stressful, labda ni block out subconsciously.
No matter how hard I try, I always find myself ending up near.
You don't have to. You could always call.
I wish that would suffice.
You are a strong woman, Mama. One of the strongest women I know.
Don't compromise your form. Keep it tight. Keep your hook.
And at 22 minutes past 9, time for our next link. And as I had promised you earlier, I'll be showing you the images of the new reconstructed Kisumu city, just to try and show you how the Kenyan Urban Roads authorities are ensuring that actually they put up the non-motorized transport system. But before we get to do that, look at this. And this is for the benefit of our viewers who may not have caught the first link. This is actually how it looks like. This project took about a year and a half between the time of 2018 and late 2019. And it actually costed 600 million for this project to be complete. This is how Kisumu City looks like. And they just mentioned that it was important for this road to be reconstructed because at least to ensure that traders, market traders, have an easy way as they move about, this specific route. It connects to major roads also as you come to the city of Nairobi. This is one of the routes that it connects to, as well as just going to the western part of the country, that is in Vihiga County. So that, again, this is just one of those roads that it connects to that. So this is actually, the overpass there. But let me just show you how that the non-motorized transport system, which is inclusive of pedestrian walkways as well as cyclist lanes. So this is actually at the heart of Kisumu City. And you can clearly see from our images, we have the pedestrian walkways, just what I've been mentioning to you. And again, this was just a statement from Kura saying that every road or any road that is earmarked for reconstruction, either, an old road trying to at least reconstruct it, or any new road that they're trying to reconstruct, they will ensure that at least they make sure that the non-motorized transport system, inclusive of cyclist lanes and pedestrian walkways, is put in place. And this is just what you're seeing. So this road was reconstructed, and at least they ensure that is put in place. Just the way we are seeing in major roads in Nairobi City or Nairobi County, they have also ensure that is put in place. You can see the overpass right there, and this is just underneath here, and clearly again that is also there. But let's come to traffic very briefly to try and see how all of this, all this project has at least impacted traffic. Has it reduced traffic in the heart of the city as you go about, different kind of businesses, or even as you use that route going about to different parts of the country? So let's just look at our map. So this, the image I just showed you is actually this, what you're seeing on the map. This is actually that area. And at this roundabout, coming all the way to Kisumu Busia Road, going all the way to Jomo Kenyatta Highway, coming to Acheng Oneko Road, and also on the other side of Oyo Street. Actually, on this lane, as it comes all the way to Kisumu Busia Road, going all the way to Busia County, and also on the other side, going all the way to Nairobi City, or if you mean Nairobi County. So this is one of those busy roundabouts, and I've just mentioned to you as it connects and branches off to a number of roads, and I've already mentioned to you those roads. So clearly, looking at this roundabout, looks like it hasn't changed, or if I may say, it looks like actually this reconstruction process has really positively impacted, because in terms of traffic, there's no that heavy traffic buildup. And even in the first two links, which when we're looking at how this roundabout was doing in terms of traffic, it is just what we are seeing right now is basically how it looked like, because you're just seeing, yes, there's traffic beginning to build up, but it is a manageable kind of traffic. It's unlike what we see or what we would spot in Nairobi City this early morning hour, given the fact that it's around 9 and a couple of minutes probably to the top of the hour. Oftentimes it's normally very busy, but as of now in Kisumu City, it is none of that. Traffic building up, but a manageable kind of traffic. And even on that area where we'd expect to see heavy traffic gridlock, given the fact that it's a busy area, as it's just one of those, areas where it's normally a drop-off as well as a pickup for those that are coming to Nairobi City, which is around this area, just slightly past the roundabout. You look at the number of services and the number of vehicles around this area, and this is just mostly the public vehicles as you're heading over to the city of Nairobi. So again, could be one of those areas where we'd expect to see heavy traffic build-up, but clearly as of now, it is none of that, moving at a pretty fast pace. So that also means if you're coming from Kisumu and you want to go to Nairobi, this early morning hour, then it doesn't really look that bad for you, moving pretty fast. And even if you're coming from the estates there, alike coming to the city center or the heart of Kisumu City, again, just a smooth sailing for you, just a slight traffic buildup as you enjoy the roundabout. So that is how it's looking like this morning in one of those busy roundabouts. And as I had mentioned to you again, this is just a project by the Kenyan Urban Roads authorities to ensure that at least they make sure that most of the roads in Nairobi, major cities, and even some towns are reconstructed. But as of now, this is how it's looking like in the heart of Kisumu City in terms of traffic this morning hour.
Right Now we want to get to the final segment of the program, Women at the Forefront. And today we have a young lady with us in studio this morning. She is Susan Mwende, who is the Director of Green Economy Initiatives as well as Dell's Corner Enterprises. Hi, Susan.
Hey.
Good morning and
Good
welcome.
morning. Thank you.
We're glad to have you this morning. And maybe you could start by giving us the social media handles. Our viewers can also interact with you on the socials.
At Facebook, Suzy Palita Mwende. On Twitter, at Sujian.
All right. So check her out if you feel you want to, get some form of empowerment to our young girls out there. You can always interact with her on that platform. Now, let's just start with the fact that you were Miss Environment Kenya in Embu County. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, that was 2017.
Yeah.
I was representing Embu for the Miss Environment Kenya, and I won.
Yes.
From there, that's where I started my green economy initiatives, basically dealing with environmental matters and wildlife conservation. Yeah.
How was that experience for you, holding that title for a whole county?
It was awesome. It was challenging at the same time. I overcame the challenges. My county was supportive then.
Yeah.
Basically, I enjoyed being crowned
Miss Environment Embu County. And speaking of environment, it's something that you seem to be quite passionate about, given that you like stories involving wildlife, the environment, gender-based violence. And let's start with that bit of environment. What is it that geared you towards, being very conscious about the environment?
Okay, in my growing years when I was young, I really loved tree planting, but I didn't have the support that I needed from my community, because having grown from Mount Kenya region where logging was so much practiced, I felt the need to reclaim our forests and also to support our country in achieving the 10% forest cover for the Vision 2030. That's what geared me towards environment, and also for participating or competing in the Miss Environment Kenya 2017.
Okay. And as you try to, get the word out there, how has it been, talking to the people about, just creating awareness about the environment, which led to your initiative, the Green Initiative?
Well, sometimes it's challenging because, you see, you have to convince people that you need to spare some part of your land to plant trees. You need to care for them. It's not really easy, because again, most people don't get the information, the right information they need to get on tree planting or deforestation. Most people want to plant trees, then after 3 or 2 years, they cut down without replacing. Yeah.
And looking also at the county governments, what do you feel they can do to just help with this whole conversation about tree planting especially, and also going out and teaching the people about conservation and ways to go about conservation?
Okay, I would think the CECs involved, the CECs environment in all the counties would do campaign and awareness, especially on Mazingira Days and the World Environmental Days.
Okay.
At least each county to have a day that every resident or citizen in that county is planting trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will go a long way in just helping with the conversation process.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a bit about wildlife as well. How does it come into this whole conversation about you as a person and in terms of conservation?
First, I've participated in a walk, partnered with Jim Justus Nyamu. He's the director, Elephant Neighbor Center. My first walk with him that took about 4 days from Nairobi to Marsabit. It was about ivory belongs to elephant. We were campaigning against the killing of elephants for their ivories. And again, wildlife and environment goes hand in hand.
Okay.
The moment you go to the forest, you go doing logging, you misplace the wildlife. And that links to the conflict, human and wildlife conflict. Yeah.
And so far, do you feel in your efforts to just try to bring more awareness about the environment and our wildlife, have you seen the impact that your drive has had on the population and especially the people that you interact with?
Yeah, I would say yes. Mostly in central Kenya, Kirinyaga. I've partnered with Ambassadors of Nature Kenya. We're doing great. Yeah.
All right. So far, you have felt the impact.
Yeah.
Now, as you go about this, I see you also bring up conversation around gender-based violence.
Yeah.
Where did that stem from?
Okay, that one is a new organization that will be launched soon. It's the name is Umundu Autism.
Take that again.
Umundu Autism. It's a CBU in Embu. They're still in the process of registration, but they hope to launch in a month's time. And they requested a partnership with us, because apart from tree planting and wildlife, we also talk to the community about gender-based violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what form of gender-based violence do you feel has been most prominent, and especially you're looking to help eradicate?
Both for both gender. Gender-based violence, it's not one gender-sided. There are men who are battered by their wives, and we see mostly it's not really feminism or feminist, but we see men are not represented.
Yes.
So I hope in this case our organization will partner them in representing the men who are facing the gender-based violences in their marriages.
All right. And we were just having that conversation yesterday about gender-based violence against men. And, it is not as spoken about as, violence against women is. And we're glad you're actually just trying to bring that conversation to the table. Now, in all that you do, what are some of those values that guide your day-to-day to just make sure when it comes to how you deal with your campaigns involving wildlife, the environment, also looking at, gender-based violence, that, you have a certain set of values that guide your day-to-day when it comes to these particular initiatives?
One, humility. You need to humble yourself, because meeting people, partnering with you, sponsoring with you, it's not really easy. You need to convince them that they need to invest in your projects. The other thing is confident. I'm confident in everything that I do. Yeah.
Now, maybe a young person is watching you out there this morning and they're wondering how you got started with these two businesses. In as much as they're about creating awareness, you're also in business, you're also an entrepreneur. Tell us a bit about, how you were able to set yourself up to set up these businesses, and especially given that you're a very young girl and you're in this millennial age. Well,
I got support from my boyfriend. I really appreciate him. Gift. So I was working at David Carey law firm. I got challenges and I quitted. So I approached him and I was like, I would love to get into business, but I wasn't sure which business. So I got a friend who trained me on online business, Jumia, especially I'm a vendor with Jumia. I did with other platforms as well. It's not really easy. You need to be patient for the business to catch up, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, it's been really difficult for us because local imports and local products were not really available. So patient and working smart.
Speaking of COVID-19, what are some of those lessons that you feel you have learned, one as an entrepreneur, and also looking at these campaigns that you have been on to just make sure that, if that a time comes that, another pandemic hits the world, your business and your initiatives will not be affected as they may have been affected during this time?
One, I appreciate technology that has enabled us to have online marketing, like Facebook, on Twitter, IG. One challenge that I faced is discipline in saving.
Yeah.
You want to go on Friday, you want to go out, or you need to attend a friend's birthday, so you misspend. One thing I've learned is saving, discipline saving in business is really required.
So discipline will go a long way in helping any young entrepreneur out there.
Yeah.
All right. Now, you're also quite passionate about taking up leadership positions, especially in the political arena, and especially for our young girls. What do you think discourages our young girls to navigate towards this direction?
I would say What do I say? You see, most girls, and especially from my community, it's about self-esteem. So they are not encouraged. They think it's all about, the leadership is about men. It's a men thing. So being a youth leader, I encourage my young girls and friends to take up those positions, to arise, to be brave, and to face the men. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. Don't fear because of your gender.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking with Susan Mwende. She is the Director of Green Economy Initiatives, as well as Adele's Corner Enterprises. And speaking of Green Economy Initiatives, this is what you have been using to just keep your campaigns going.
Yeah.
Or about the environment and the wildlife.
Yeah.
Now, for our young viewers this morning who are wondering how they can get started with such initiatives, what forms of support do you think, or rather you got, to just help you get these initiatives in place in terms of knowing where to go, getting the necessary information, and what channels to best use for these initiatives?
One, they need to register the group. The registration comes first. They need to go to the Ministry of Environment, learn a lot, and see whether they want an organization that will not be limited to a county. Then from there, they need to partner with other environmental groups within their region for their support.
All right. So seek all the necessary support that you feel you need to help you look at this journey. Now, as also we draw the conversation to a close, when it comes to gender-based violence, we have seen it, just go up, especially with this pandemic. Looking at policies that we have in place, how can we best improve to just make sure that we are protecting, especially our children who are not really in positions where they can really air what they are going through?
Okay, in my opinion, gender-based violence is caused by mental health and depression. So I think the government should consider mental health also as a pandemic, especially now that we've had a difficult time in our country.
Yes.
They should check on that. And also in the marriages, people need to talk out. You need to speak out to your spouse and understand one another.
All right. Find proper channels of communication that are going to help you when it comes to finding a healthy let out, especially during this pandemic. All right. Now, finally, maybe your word of advice to our young viewers this morning who want to get onto this entrepreneurial journey. As you have said, it's not easy, especially with this pandemic. You've had your fair share of challenges, but you are here. How would you like to encourage them this morning?
Well, they rise up. The time is now. It's never tomorrow. Use your retro savings, start somewhere, start with something, know what you want to do, know the business you want to start. Don't wait to save, you need a capital. You don't need a capital, you need the little money you have to buy what you need and sell.
Okay.
Yeah. Marketing also, you do a lot of marketing to friends, to family, everywhere.
And they're going to go along with helping you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Maybe you could remind us your social media handles once more before we get to close the conversation, and the programs that our viewers can also keep interacting with you on the socials.
Thank you. On Facebook, Suzy Parita Mwende. On Twitter, @Sujian.
All right. There you have it. Thank you so much for coming through. We do hope, all our young girls who are watching us this morning. She is young. She is just 25 years old and doing phenomenal things here, all about protecting the environment, our wildlife, encouraging these conversations around gender-based violence that we need to improve on. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
We wish you the best as you continue with all you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. So right now we want to have a quick look at what is happening on social media, and I can see so much is happening, and especially in light of the conversations that we had right here about the first one was involving, regulation of alcohol consumption, especially during this time. We had the CEO of NACADA. I will be reading some of your comments in a bit. Also conversations around that particular link that we got with Sarafina Ruby about what is happening at the Milimani courts right now. And finally, about physiotherapy, that conversation we've just had. I will be sampling some of your tweets. But before I get to have a look at what is happening on my end of things, let's check in with Miss D. What's agwan on your end? All right, D, we'll be checking your mic kidogo in a bit. Na technology kiamua kutuangusha. inatuangushanga be serious, but no love lost. Let me just sample some of your feedback that we have received so far right here. Looking at Kamale on Twitter saying, this is in regards to the Milimani link that we got. They want us to forget about the COVID thieves, and that is why we are seeing all these sideshows when it comes to these graft cases, with a lot of smiley faces right there. Let me get another one from, this is a retweet from Kalegono Lomrio 2. This one is asking, when it comes to huge capital investments, we should work closely with people, and especially in the county governments, to help us small business owners and facilitate us when it comes to setting up shop whenever we can. And this is in regard to this final conversation that we have had. Also tagging in NACADA about that conversation with the county governments that we had with Sam Njoroge right there. Kenya Daima saying, this is in regards to the link that we got with Sarafina again. What happened to the containers? There, question mark, question mark, question mark. Frank CEO, appreciating the program. Thank you so much. Another tweet by Kalegono saying, I think the government should introduce free rehabilitation centers for drug addicts in order to curb this trend. That is also in regards to the conversation that Sammy had. D.
Yeah.
Getting back to you.
Yeah, now I believe we are good. So as
I
was mentioning, before I get to Twitter, I saw a comment on Facebook, and someone was asking, especially in regards to the issue of capital, because it's always a problem, especially for startups, in regards, depending on whatever business it is. So maybe I can just ask our guest, for again, the benefit of our viewers, for her, how was it raising this capital just to just start this project? Did she get any support? And if she got, from who? I mean, who exactly, and how can young people really ensure that they get to do whatever it is they want to do, regardless of the issue of capital?
All right, she will be responding to that in a bit, especially when it comes to capital. D.
Okay, so let's just continue with our social media engagement, trying to see what you're saying on the social. And before I get to do that, of course, you can find us on these platforms at KBC Channel 1 TV is our main handle. Hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, at Jane Womboy, at Sam W. Njoroge, at Doreen Arange, and at Ray Manyaro. And most of the comments that I'm actually seeing on the social is just in regards to the question. People just wanting to know. There's one I'm seeing from Victoria saying that preventing harm from pollution and waste, as in just saying that the best way to do this, to prevent harm from pollution and waste, is by people, when they actually see this, they need to report. So is that something that we need to be doing as a society? And are we failing in the sense that when we see this dirt, when we see this waste, and I mean in our estates and the streets, on the road, and we just go like, I wouldn't bother. So do you feel like you're doing enough to report these incidences? And if not, what extra do we need to do to ensure that we keep our environment clean? To our guests.
Well, when it comes to waste, this is about you yourself, your discipline, human discipline. Like I was watching on YouTube, some countries have taken initiatives on waste pollution, the plastics. They are using the plastics. Who are these people who are wasting, who are misusing the plastic? Ni sisi wenyewe. Like Upper Kenya, the ban of plastic was done, but you still find plastic huku mtaani zinatumika. So it's a personal decision, and it also should be a personal discipline. We throw the waste where we should and use the dustbin well.
So it's more of a personal decision, and not just leaving it to government, because oftentimes it keeps saying the government should do this, we should do this, county government should do this. So it's more of a personal decision. That's what
we can't keep blaming the government, because at the end of the day, it's you. When you get that litter, where are you throwing it?
At the end of the day, it's actually you. All right, let's look at another tweet. This is just saying protecting half of the planet could help solve climate change and save species. Do you agree with this? Is this really possible? Because right now, again, we are dealing a lot with the issues of climate change and global warming. Very briefly, could this really help?
Yeah, it could. When me and you do it, we will. We saw a couple sometimes back who in 10 years they planted 2 million trees, growing them. I mean, you plant a tree and you grow it.
Okay.
So you come, you partner with people, you do it. You can't do it alone.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you so much for being with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. And as we wind up, there's one, Masinde001 on Twitter saying, today we look very happy and we should ask Regina to open her DM here on Good Morning Kenya because he might have a heart that is lost and found there. Hashtag lost and found. Well, with that, we want to close Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for being with us from the beginning up until now. And on behalf of Miss D on the other side of studio, my colleagues, and the Good Morning Kenya crew, we wish you a lovely day. God bless. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning right here on KBC Channel 1.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri Coast Maua Nakuru ko locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the rev.
Mbotela Outer Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboksa pale go down. Karatina Outer Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Outer Githurai 45. Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Outer Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Fika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ungwaro.
Outer Gilgil. Live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive.
Embo Thika Massive.
Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda
Kisumu City.
Malindi yote iko ndani ya the rev.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to Africa.
While age and genetics do play a role, it does not mean you have to give up the sport you love. Everyone shows different levels of decrement with age, yet we all have the ability to compete in age-specific groups regardless of how old we are. Remember, age is just a number. Flexibility peaks in late teens and early adulthood. At this age, body mass and percent body fat are relatively low, providing a good strength to body weight ratio. Optimal flexibility, smaller stature, and a good strength to weight ratio are advantageous in sports such as gymnastics, which require extreme ranges of motion and rotating or spinning in the air.
Basically, age is almost like when you're performing, when you're young, you tend to be more energetic, so like your performance rate is very high. But with age, when you're aging, then your performance start reducing.
Speed and agility sports, where the resistance is one's own body weight, require a high degree of sport-specific coordination and a high amount of strength per unit of body weight. In the late teens and early 20s, motor skills are well developed. Mental skills, including focus, confidence, strategizing, and patience, can continue to develop beyond the 30s. In some sports, athletes can compensate for losses in strength and stamina by gains in strength and skill.
Some of the physical changes that you can be able, to observe, which are caused by aging. One is like the physique of your body. Like if you are muscular, now you tend with the age, let's say you've now like 50, 60, 70, you're losing your muscles. Apart from losing the muscle, then like some of the body parts, you start feeling some ache, like some pain in them.
Apart from your training regimen, there are also physiological changes that favor the younger athlete across a lifespan. If you maintain a solid and consistent training routine between the ages of 14 to 25, you have a greater chance of peaking at your optimal genetic capacity to compete in the sport of your choice. If you are exercising once or more every day, you will use more energy than if you did little or none.
There are a lot of advantage when you are still if you are still engaging yourself in sports. One is that your body will remain healthy and will still be fit. For instance, the other day you saw President Mugabe fall down and he was able to raise himself up. I think he's still doing some running. So if you are still active in sports and you are aging, you can be able also like to control some of the diseases that are common with the aging guys. You can be able, like I've said, to remain fit.
If you have a healthy weight and you don't want to lose body fat, you will need to eat more food each day to maintain your weight.
Age is in your mind. We've seen a lot of aged guys still very active, playing. Like I mentioned earlier, running marathon and completing the 42 kilometers. A good example is our First Lady. Yeah, so that shows you that age is just but a number.
But you still need to make sure that you have a balanced diet. To increase your energy intake and fuel your training sessions, eat more carbohydrate-rich foods such as bread, cereals, rice, pasta, and potatoes. Try to choose whole grain varieties and eat potatoes with their skins on. Include sources of essential fats from foods such as oily fish, nuts, and seeds. You will also need enough protein-rich food to help prepare and build your muscles.
As a sports person, there are a lot of meals that one should maybe avoid. For instance, the junk food. These will hinder your performance in the field, and maybe you'll not be able to perform to your best. So, but apart from junk food, again, you should avoid drugs, talk of alcohol. For instance, young people like eating veve. They are the base. So these are some of the things. And you see, like if you're a footballer and you eat a lot of mogoka, this will affect maybe your performance. Talk of smoking. These are some of the things that one should avoid. But apart from that, you should also eat healthy. You eat a lot of fruits and vegetables.
Although we are able to teach an old dog new tricks, the process of learning a sport later on in life is much more time-consuming and requires patience, practice, and a lot of training. But it can be done.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Please don't avoid me,
No.
please.
I'm not avoiding you. I just don't have anything to say to you.
Yes, we do. You see, what happened last night between us wasn't just
Listen,
anything.
Mr. Julio, what happened last night shouldn't have happened at all.
Well, for me, it was extremely important,
No,
and I
Mr.
really like to...
Huh? What do you think, my love?
Well, for me, I love it. My love, I'm so excited.
Me too, I'm very excited.
Let me be by your side. I need to be with you, hug you and kiss you. And you ask me to stay away, that I forget you